OCN Volume 25 Number 9, September 6, 2025. This podcast presents the audio versions of the articles and columns in this issue of OCN in the order they appeared in the paper. For details, please refer to the articles and columns, which are posted at ocn.me. Palmer Lake Planning Commission, August 20th, Buc-ee's annexation vote postponed. By James Howell and Jackie Burr-Hans. The Palmer Lake Planning Commission, PLPC, met August 20th to hold a public hearing on the proposed Buc-ee's annexation. The public hearing ran for 6 hours and was attended by more than 100 people. 3 items were on the agenda: annexation, zoning in the form of a plan development, PD, and a sketch plan. Charlie Eilenfeld, the Planning Commission chair, said the meeting would begin with comments from town staff, then the applicant would present, the public would comment, the commission would discuss the application, and, finally, the commission could act on the 3 items if they chose to do so. Staff comments. Palmer Lake Town Attorney Scott Krob commented on the legality of a recording that has been circulating on social media of Eilenfeld commenting favorably on the Buc-ee's annexation. Krob said annexation was a legislative matter, and Eilenfeld was entitled to comment on legislative matters. Zoning and the sketch plan were quasi-judicial matters, Krob said, and the legal precedents regarding those issues were not settled. Krob explained that PDs have increased flexibility, and it is expected that in the case of a PD, topics such as setbacks, building heights, and lighting are matters that can be negotiated. Applicant presentation. Nina Ruiz and Craig Dossie, of Vertex Consulting, were the main presenters of Buc-ee's application for annexation. Consultants from Kimley Horn Ecosystem Services, and law firm Mulliken Wiener Berg and Joliet also spoke on civil engineering, traffic flow, environmental issues such as wildlife preservation, and the annexation agreement contract. Ruiz pointed out that the property under consideration for annexation is in unincorporated El Paso County and is currently zoned commercial, C1, and commercial community, CC. Gas stations and convenience stores are permitted uses in these zoning categories. Dossie discussed how the proposed annexation related to the county master plan. That plan designates the property as transitional and identifies it as a potential area for annexation, he said. John Disvartes, a restoration ecologist with Ecosystem Services, said the site, which is surrounded by I-25, County Line Road, and residential housing, was already damaged and had more economic and cultural value than ecological value. The Colorado Department of Transportation, CDOT, says I-25 is the most influential infrastructure in the area. There are no wildlife migration paths on the property, which had been run as a ranch previously, Disvartes said. Scott Radcliffe, of Buc-ee's, presented the site plan for the travel center. The center is not a truck stop and will use traffic circles and signals to control access, he said. He explained that the underground fuel tanks would be continuously monitored. Stan Beard, director of real estate for Buc-ee's, presented the plans for lighting and signs. He said the travel center would be as night sky friendly as possible, but it was not possible to follow a strict night sky ordinance. He said there would be no light trespass beyond the property lines, and the site would have 3,000 Kelvin lights that are dark sky compliant. He explained Buc-ee's wants its parking areas to be lighted so they are safe and comfortable. Beard requested a 100-foot sign for the travel center, which exceeds Palmer Lake's maximum height for signs. He said sign height was important to Buc-ee's brand but was negotiable. Dossie said the sketch plan conformed to the town's master plan. He argued the travel center would maintain the small-town look and feel of Palmer Lake because it was 1.5 miles from the town. The master plan states non-residential development is needed to provide tax base and services, and it encourages strategic annexations, Dossie said. He argued the travel center will enhance tax revenue and will showcase locally sourced merchandise. Following the applicant's presentation, Commissioner Mike Beeson pointed out that the town master plan discourages big box or franchise stores. Dossie argued the travel center does not fit the definition of big box store and is smaller than the Walmart and Home Depot in Monument. It's not a franchise, he said. Beeson said there were many places to buy gasoline already. Beeson asked if a bike lane could be added to the plan, but Ruiz could not commit to adding one. Commissioner Bill Fisher said there needs to be a bridge for cyclists to use County Line Road to get to the Greenland open space. Beeson asked if the travel center would encroach on open space. Sarah Freer, a lawyer with Mulliken Wiener Berg and Jolivet, representing Buc-ee's, said that question came up early in the process, and El Paso County, Douglas County and the Douglas County Conservancy have stipulated that an easement will be created to create a road right-of-way, and the final design will move any disturbances onto Buc-ee's property. Ruiz discussed the PD criteria. She said the surrounding roadways would not be impacted by the travel center, and the center would increase the value of the annexed property. The PD specifies 820 parking spaces. She said there is adequate screening and buffering in the plan, and there is no light trespass. Snow removal will be done by Buc-ee's. Some open space will be provided, and the town will also receive cash in lieu of open space. The maximum building height will be 40 feet. Monument Sanitation District will handle wastewater, and the developer will pay all costs for water infrastructure. Pedestrian walkways, parking areas, and landscaping all conform to standards. To conclude the applicant's presentation, Freer reviewed the annexation agreement contract, which includes $14 million for water system improvements that include 2 new wells, a water line and water treatment plant, as well as wastewater and roadway improvements. $150,000 cash in lieu of open space for other open space projects. $350,000 contribution to the town's general fund. $1.5 million in estimated annual sales and property tax revenue. $325,000 annual water revenue. $107,500 annually for the Monument Fire Department and the Palmer Lake Fire Department. Fisher pointed out he had just received the 844-page packet hours before the meeting. He asked what zoning issues were included in the application and said he was concerned about something being hidden in the packet. Freer answered that the town should not sign the annexation agreement without reading it. She said the property would be zoned PD, and if the town changed the zoning later, Buc-ee's could de-annex. Commissioners' questions. Fisher asked if the town was locked into the sketch plan or if detailed changes could be made. Krob said the board's options were to approve the PD plan as presented, approve it subject to conditions, or deny it. Commissioner Matt Stephen asked for clarification of the 1% sales tax credit that would go to Buc-ee's. Freer said 1% of the sales tax would be rebated to Buc-ee's for 20 years, and that is expected to amount to $500,000 annually to reimburse Buc-ee's for infrastructure improvements. Beeson asked if the town would have to pay for $5.9 million in infrastructure improvements. Freer said the town would have no such financial obligations. Krob said the annexation agreement says the town pays none of those costs. Second annexation petition announced. Todd Messenger, attorney for United Congregational Church, said a competing annexation petition filed August 18 takes precedence and halts further action on the Buc-ee's annexation. He asked that the commission discontinue the hearing. Messenger said he knew Krob disagreed with his opinion. Messenger's announcement was met with raucous cheers from the audience, but the meeting was not halted. Public comments. 44 attendees signed up to comment on the presentation from the Buc-ee's consultants. Only 2 spoke in favor of approving the annexation. Highlights of the public comments. Resident Ian Griffiths disagreed with the ecologist's comments about wildlife and cautioned the commission that it should verify the statements made by the consultants representing Buc-ee's. He said CDOT and the Douglas Land Conservancy had not approved any part of the proposed annexation. Palmer Lake's process was designed to minimize feedback and ramrod the project through. He ended by saying he thought the town leadership wanted the project, but the residents did not. Dan Niemela, a water resource consultant with BBA Water Consultants Incorporated, said he had led a study of the Denver Basin aquifers, some of which are declining by 17 feet annually. He pointed out that the more groundwater Palmer Lake pumps, the faster the aquifers will decline. The town does not have a long-term renewable water plan. Caitlin Quander, a land use attorney, requested a continuance from the commission. The lengthy packet did not include the annexation agreement, third-party comments, or reports that were submitted to the town. The new annexation petition announced by Messenger required a continuance. Quander disagreed with Krob's opinion on Eilenfeld's comments in favor of the annexation, arguing zoning is a quasi-judicial not a legal issue. If the commission continued the hearing, Quander recommended rejection of the proposal. She told the commission to go back to the table and negotiate a deal that protects the long-term interests of Palmer Lake. Resident Steve Draper also asked for a continuance because the commission had not read the packet, which they had just received. He reminded the commission that they represented the people, and canvassing had shown 70% of the residents opposed the annexation. Beth Harris, a candidate for a seat on the Palmer Lake Board of Trustees, said the El Paso County Master Plan is moot and the primary document to consider is the Palmer Lake Master Plan, which calls for small businesses and does not support a 74,000 square foot store. She criticized the Buc-ee's team for cherry-picking from the town's master plan. She pointed out that Buc-ee's had revised its estimated water use upward 3 times. Her comments were met with applause. Kat Gale, of Integrity Matters, objected to Eilenfeld chairing the hearing because she said his fairness was compromised. Resident Roger Mosley, also a candidate for a seat on the Palmer Lake Board, said he was surprised the commission was not offended by receiving the lengthy packet with no time to read it before the meeting. He cited several ways in which Buc-ee's plan varied from the town's master plan, which he helped to write. Commission discussion. Beeson asked Krob to address the second annexation petition that Messenger had announced. Krob said Messenger had opposed the travel center since December and that he would take a look at the second annexation petition and give the commission his opinion before August 28. Fisher said he had 2 pages of issues with Buc-ee's presentation. He did not agree the proposal complied with the town's master plan. He wanted to preserve Palmer Lake's small-town feel and natural environment. He pointed out that if a project does not comply with the master plan must be amended before the project can be approved. Fisher objected to the height of the proposed sign and asked for consideration of a smaller sign. He wanted more time to study the water reports. He pointed out that the travel center plan called for 187 more parking places than the municipal code allows and asked to see a plan with fewer spaces and less impermeable surface. Beeson and Commissioner Andre Bergeron said they wanted to see the water and traffic reports from third parties that had been sent to the town but not provided to the commissioners. Beeson said the commission had no choice but to continue its decision to a later date. Eilenfeld asked Krob how that might be done, and Krob said the commission could continue the matter for up to 30 days. A longer continuance would require the consent of the applicant, Krob said, and without that consent a continuance of more than 30 days would be a denial. Eilenfeld made a motion to continue for 3 days. Beeson said more time was needed. Stephen said he was not comfortable with the annexation agreement he had received late the previous evening. Fisher pointed out the applicant would need time to respond to the issues he had raised. Beard said the Buc-ee's team would address any issues the commission raised. Eilenfeld's motion to continue for 3 days failed on a tie vote, with Bergeron, Commissioner Herb Tomich, and Eilenfeld voting yes and Beeson, Fisher and Stephen voting no. After further discussion, the commission voted to reconvene on September 3 and to submit its questions to the Buc-ee's team by August 27. The next special commission meeting is scheduled for September 3. The next regular meeting is scheduled for September 17. See the town's website at www.townofpalmerlake.com to confirm times and dates of board meetings and workshops. Meetings are typically held on the 3rd Wednesday of the month at the Town Hall. Information: 719-481-2953. James Howald can be reached at jameshowald@ocn.me. Jackie Burr-Hans can be reached at jackieburhans@ocn.me. Palmer Lake Board of Trustees, August 6, 1428, Board vacancy filled, Land Use Code updated, Annexation decision postponed. By James Howald and Jackie Burr-Hans. The Palmer Lake Board of Trustees, PLBOT, met 3 times in August. At a workshop on August 6, the board interviewed the final candidate for a seat on the board that was made vacant when Dennis Stern was appointed mayor. At the special meeting following the workshop, the board voted to fill the vacancy. At the first regular meeting on August 14, the board held a public hearing on an ordinance to update the sections of its municipal code that deal with zoning and land use. At the same meeting, the board heard a presentation regarding ways to develop the lodge at the Elephant Rock property and public comments. The meeting ended with an executive session. At the second regular meeting on August 28, the board scheduled a public hearing on the Buc-ee's annexation, but that hearing was continued to October 2 because the Planning Commission had not completed its review of the zoning issues brought up by the proposed annexation. See the Planning Commission article above. The board heard reports from town staff, board members, and public comments. The meeting included an executive session. Final candidate interview. At previous meetings, the board interviewed Mike Boyett, Alex Farr, Beth Harris, and John Marble for the vacant seat on PLBOT. Mike Beeson, who currently serves on the Palmer Lake Planning Commission, was the last to be interviewed for the seat. In his opening statement at the workshop, Beeson said he had lived in Colorado off and on since 1963. He served in several roles in the Air Force, including cryptologist and squadron commander. He earned an undergraduate degree in business, a master's degree in public administration and a second master's degree in national security. After retiring from the Air Force, he served as the Chief of Human Resources at the Air Force Academy. He emphasized his leadership, budgeting, and management skills. Trustees Shauna Ball, Tim Caves, Kevin Dreyer, Amy Hudson, and 8S Jerka asked Beeson the same questions they had previously asked the other candidates, including how Beeson would balance the town's master plan against smart development, how he would attract business to the town, how the board, the town staff, and residents should work together, and how he would keep his emotions in check in tense situations. Beeson referred frequently to his military background in his answers, said he would stay true to the town's master plan, and said he would let his moral compass guide him and would make decisions based on fact. He stressed the importance of fire mitigation, said he would pursue the town's initiative to add sidewalks, and would support arts and culture as foundations for the town's economic development. When Mayor Dennis Stern questioned Beeson, he asked a question that he had not asked of the previous candidates. He asked Beeson if he had signed all 3 recall petitions and the ballot initiative requiring annexations to be put to a vote instead of being decided only by the PLBOT. Beeson answered that he had signed one of the recall petitions and the ballot initiative. Beeson asked Stern if those signatures were disqualifying. Stern answered that he believed Beeson had already decided about the annexation of land for a Buc-ee's travel center. Beeson said he had not decided because he had not seen the final presentation from the developer. Beeson offered to say which trustee he believed should be recalled, but Stern said Beeson had already answered his question. After Beeson's interview, Stern ended the workshop and, after a 10-minute break, opened the special session. Boyett appointed and sworn in. After opening the special session, Stern said he had asked some but not all the other candidates if they had signed the recall petitions. He said he wanted to understand if the candidates had open minds about questions before the board. He said he won't be able to take any of those answers into consideration. There were no public comments about the interview. Stern asked the board for nominations to fill the vacant seat. Jerka nominated Beeson, and Hudson seconded the nomination. Dreyer, Hudson, and Jerka voted for Beeson. Ball, Caves, and Stern voted no. The tie vote meant the nomination failed. Dreyer nominated Boyett. Ball, Caves, Dreyer, and Stern voted to appoint Boyett, Hudson and Jerka voted no, and the nomination passed. Following that vote, the board voted unanimously in favor of Resolution 50/2025, which appoints Boyett to the vacant seat for the remainder of a term ending in 2026. Town Clerk Erica Romero administered the oath of office to Boyett. Public hearing on Land Use Code. At the August 14 meeting, Stern opened a public hearing to discuss Ordinance 04-2025, which replaces the existing zoning and land use portions of the town's municipal code with an updated version that the town contracted with Community Matters Institute, CMI, to draft. The work to update the code began in 2023 and was funded with a $15,000 grant. The grant requires the money to be returned by the town if the updated code is not approved by August 2025. The debate focused on Article January 1780, which addresses the relationship of the Land Use Code to the Community Master Plan. The Master Plan has been discussed by the community recently as it relates to the town's possible annexation of land for a Buc-ee's travel center. Article January 1780, b, of the updated code states, where a development proposal would be in substantial conflict with the Community Master Plan or other plan, an amendment to the Community Master Plan or other plan shall be required prior to any zoning or subdivision approvals, unless the Board of Trustees adopts a resolution making specific finding that such an amendment is not required. Jerka asked for clarification of substantial conflict. Because the Planning Commission worked with CMI to update the code, Stern asked Charlie Eilenfeld, the chair of that commission, to comment. Eilenfeld said he did not recall the Planning Commission discussing that portion of the code. Town Attorney Scott Krob said substantial conflict was difficult to assess numerically, and it would be up to the board to define it in a specific case. Resident Beth Harris, who is running for a seat on the board in the election to be held on September 9, urged the board not to adopt the language regarding the master plan, arguing that it reinforces disregard for the master plan and throws the people's will into the garbage by requiring only a resolution by the board to circumvent it. Harris said, moves like this buried deep in the packet make people distrust the board. When Harris turned to address the audience instead of the board, Stern told her not to use the public hearing for campaigning and said she could use the public comment time to make further remarks on any topic she wished to address. Resident Matt Beverly pointed out that the language in subsection B was not in the previous version of the code. Resident Roger Mosley, like Harris a candidate for a seat on the board, argued that the town has not been well served by CMI, calling the updated code a worthless cut-and-paste job, and objected to the changes to the caretaker house provisions, which he said abridged his property rights. Caves asked Krob if it was possible to remove the language regarding the master plan and then approve the remainder of the amended code. Krob said it was possible, that doing so that evening would avoid the requirement for the town to return the grant money, and there was no time to return the code to the Planning Commission for additional editing. He went on to say the language regarding the master plan was inserted to address unusual circumstances, and to give the board more flexibility. Harris said minutes from the Planning Commission indicated Krob had inserted the problematic language. Following the discussion, Stern asked for a motion, and Hudson moved to adopt the amended code with Article January 17, 80, B, removed. The board voted unanimously in favor of Hudson's motion. Real estate agent to develop Elephant Rock property. At the August 14 meeting, the board heard a presentation about how the lodge at the Elephant Rock property might be developed by Greg Kaufman, a real estate agent and part owner of KCRE Advisors. Caves introduced Kaufman and said the board's goal was not to sell the lodge for the highest price but to find the right business that will generate tax revenue for the town in the long term. Kaufman said he was looking for a business that would generate $100,000 in tax revenue annually and would not sit on the property but would develop it immediately. He said he thought the lodge could provide revenue plus something the town does not already have, or at least, does not hate, perhaps a wine-related business other than a vineyard. Kaufman said he had been involved in many restaurant and brewery projects. He cited Monument Marketplace, Home Depot, Kohl's, and Topgolf as businesses he had worked with. He said he can create excitement and buzz. Hudson said the board required the business to be open before the land could be sold. Kaufman said that was not typical, but he liked a challenge. He said that he could not promise he could find the right business for Palmer Lake. In response to a question from Jerka, Kaufman said the focus would be on the lodge, and the other two buildings would likely be torn down to provide parking space. Stern asked Krob if he had reviewed the proposed contract with Kaufman. Krob said the contract could be approved that evening, subject to his later review. Cave said he wanted to move forward, and Hudson moved to approve the contract with Kaufman subject to Krob's approval. The board voted unanimously in favor of Hudson's motion. Public comments. 3 opponents of the Buc-ee's Travel Center spoke against it during the public comment period. Resident Martha Brodzik said she had submitted 4 Colorado Open Records Act requests and had never received the responses required by law. She said the annexation statement that the town released on July 25 was not a complete annexation agreement and was missing details such as who has priority when water restrictions are in place, the tiered water usage rate that Buc-ee's would be charged for usage over 100,000 gallons per month, the tap fee for a 12-inch water tap, and who will pay various annexation expenses. She asked that the town respond to her requests for records. Mosley said approving the Buc-ee's annexation presented an ethical problem because the town would be forcing on surrounding communities a development it would never accept within its own boundaries. Sean Sawyer, of Tri-Lakes Preservation, said he liked the decision to remove the language allowing the board to circumvent the master plan from its land use code and asked if the town was ready for the problems the travel center would bring it. Executive session. The August 14 meeting ended with an executive session to receive legal advice on 3 matters: a possible amendment of a sale agreement between the town and 215, LLC, the proposed Buc-ee's annexation and a possible draft annexation agreement, and the pending litigation between the town and Integrity Matters. Public hearing on annexation rescheduled. At the August 28 meeting, Stern noted that the Planning Commission at its last meeting had postponed its recommendation on the proposed Buc-ee's annexation until September 3 and said the board should wait to hold its hearing and vote until the Planning Commission had completed its work. Stern said a zoning change required a minimum of 5 trustees to vote in favor, and he wanted all trustees to be present for that vote. The first date all trustees were available was October 2, and he proposed the matter be held over until that date. The board voted unanimously to make its final decision on the annexation on October 2. Following that vote, Krob addressed a second annexation petition that was announced at the Planning Commission meeting, which he referred to as the Chin annexation. The Chin annexation, he said, could impede Palmer Lake's ability to move forward with its annexation. He told the board he had concluded that the Chin annexation fails to meet legal requirements because it was not filed 10 days before Palmer Lake's board meeting on August 28 and did not involve the same territory as the Buc-ee's annexation. Recall election update. In her staff report, Town Clerk Erica Romero gave the board an update on the election to be held on September 9, which will decide the recalls of Ball and Dreyer and the ballot initiative requiring annexations to go before the voters. Romero said, "Ballots were emailed on August 18 and can be returned by mail or in a ballot box at the town hall. All ballots must be received by end of day on September 9. Ballots postmarked on September 9 but not received by that date will not be counted. Replacement ballots are available at Town Hall. There will be no in-person voting, and ballot tracks is not available to provide ballot status. 6 election judges have been chosen based on election judge experience and computer skills. Each candidate and issue committee can appoint 1 election watcher to oversee the election. Preliminary results will be posted as soon as possible on the town's web page. Information about the election is at www.townofpalmerlake.com/administration/page/elections. Public comments. When El Paso County Commissioner Bill Wysong rose to speak, Stern asked if he was speaking as a commissioner, a private citizen, or in some other capacity. Wysong said his comments were generic. He reminded the board that their job was to represent the people, and it would not meet again before the recall election. He said he hoped the election would go well and everyone would be respectful of the outcome. The next regular board meetings are scheduled for September 11 and 25. See the town's website at www.townofpalmerlake.com to confirm times and dates of board meetings and workshops. Meetings are typically held on the 2nd and 4th Thursdays of the month at the town hall. Information: 719-481-2953. James Howald can be reached at jameshowald@ocn.me. Jackie Burr-Hans can be reached at jackieburhans@ocn.me. Palmer Lake Candidates Forum, August 27. Candidates speak at Forum. By Jackie Burr-Hans. On August 27, Palmer Lake Board of Trustees candidates Beth Harris, John Marble, and Roger Mosley spoke at a forum at Palmer Lake Elementary, aiming to replace 2 trustees if a recall election succeeds. Harris cited her finance background and love for the town. Marble, a college student, emphasized youth engagement. Mosley, a longtime resident, highlighted his experience in managing people and projects. About 55 attendees asked about priorities, trust, and communication. Candidates named stormwater drainage, transparency, and online engagement as key issues. The September 9 mail-only special election asks voters 4 questions. 1. Recall Kevin Dreyer. 2. Recall Shauna Ball. 3. If recalled, which 2 candidates should replace them? 4. Should citizens vote on annexations? Ballots, mailed August 18, must be received by 7 p.m. on September 9. Postmarks don't count. Mail or drop-off ballots at Town Hall, 42 Valley Crescent Street. Call 719-481-2953 if you need a replacement. Jackie Burr-Hans can be contacted at jackieburhans@ocn.me. Monument Academy School Board, August 14 and 25. Board moves forward on facility plans, here's marketing proposal. By Jackie Burr-Hans. The Monument Academy, MA, School Board held 2 meetings in August to advance planning for East Campus facility upgrades and review proposals to expand high school programming. The board also heard an external marketing presentation and considered joining Colorado's Universal Pre-Kindergarten (UPK) program. In addition, the board approved decisions related to partnerships, policies, waivers, stipends, and other operational matters. East Campus Expansion Strategy. President Ryan Graham opened the meeting by highlighting his 5-year involvement with MA's facility planning. He said MA is pursuing a phased build-out at East Campus, including track and field, a regulation-sized gym, classrooms, library, an 800-seat auditorium, and expanded student common areas. Graham noted MA cannot complete all projects at once but is preparing for a multi-year campaign. He reminded the board of a $29 million balloon payment due in June 2026 and said MA is working with a bond advisor to restructure its debt. CRP Architects President Brian Risley and Wember Incorporated Vice President Dusty Black were available to present the Phase 2 design. Graham said MA formed a design advisory group last month, including board members, staff, parents, and project partners, to gather stakeholder input. MA has received $200,000 in donations toward the track and field project. Graham said the school is exploring financial options to prioritize the new gym and convert the practice gym into a performing arts black box. That would allow time to raise funds for the auditorium. MA will continue working with its bond advisor and will launch a capital campaign targeting high-net-worth individuals. Graham said naming rights and other recognition opportunities will be available. Graham introduced a proposed contract with CRP Architects for a schematic design package to clarify project costs and support donor outreach. He said the blueprint would help MA engage donors. The board voted unanimously to approve the contract. Partners present expansion master plan. Black said Wember project manager R.J. LaForge led planning efforts for MA's East Campus expansion, coordinating with the board and CRP Architects to set priorities and align budgets with cash flow. The team is moving quickly through schematic designs to support contractor engagement. LaForge is preparing a request for qualifications for general contractors, GC, that's expected to go public soon. Black said MA aims to onboard a GC by mid-September to provide accurate cost estimates. Surveying and soil testing are underway to confirm site feasibility. The school plans to break ground on track and field in spring, with phased additions including bleachers, restrooms, press box, and concessions to bring it into Colorado High School Activities Association, CHSAA, compliance. Bleachers would hold up to 1,000 spectators, and there is room around the track for jumping and throwing pits. In the future, overflow parking could be built where the current field is located. Risley said the master plan includes 3 expansion zones, north, east, and west, originally anticipated in the campus design. Existing utility access and building openings will support phased construction. The revised layout proposes a 13,000 square foot gym on the east side, featuring locker rooms, a main court, 2 cross courts, and seating for 800. The gym would have its own restroom so it could operate independently for after-school events. West of the gym, MA plans to expand common space by 3,000 square feet, connecting to an 835-seat auditorium with full stage and backstage facilities. Classrooms and a media center would shift west to maximize views. The 2-story wing with a central gathering space would support academic growth. If the auditorium is deferred, MA might convert the current gym into a black box theater, offering a flexible performance venue with seating in the round, which could flex from 249 to 286 occupants. Black said the team is excited to help shape a campus that reflects the school's long-term vision. Presentations on arts, athletics, and academics. Department heads' ideas for building out their high school programs and estimating the costs involved were presented at the August 25 special meeting. Academics. Secondary campus principal Angela Duca reviewed academic programs with a focus on student retention. Her team surveyed 8th graders and high school students about why they stay or leave, especially after middle school. Students who stay cited strong relationships with teachers, internship opportunities, upcoming new facilities, student council, and a sense of community. Middle school students often leave to attend high school with friends and teammates, join sports teams not offered at MA, or follow siblings to other schools for easier transportation. High school students leave due to limited class options, few electives, a small number of AP courses, and the lack of an auditorium. Some seek a different experience. Students also face scheduling conflicts that prevent them from taking preferred classes. They requested a library, more after-school clubs, and greater separation between middle and high school programs. Upperclassmen asked for off-campus lunch privileges, especially for student drivers, and supported a block schedule and expanded foreign language offerings, including American Sign Language. Duca outlined immediate steps to improve retention, including educating middle schoolers about high school offerings and planning senior class trips. She proposed stipends for staff to organize trips and lead fundraising, starting with domestic travel and expanding to international options tied to curriculum. She encouraged parent volunteer involvement. She also recommended launching after-school clubs immediately, with stipends for teacher sponsors. If a teacher volunteers to lead a club, MA would be obligated to offer it, she noted. Duca suggested reviewing MA's 4-year math graduation requirement, noting that some students may not need it. Expanding beyond the current 5 AP classes would be costly, but students can still take AP exams independently. She proposed educating students about the college-level examination program, CLEP, and encouraging enrollment during academy time. She also recommended exploring a scholarship program to support post-secondary education. For long-term improvements, Duca supported adding sports and arts facilities, hiring more teachers for AP and electives, and building a separate high school academic wing. She also suggested collaborating with District 38 to expand AP offerings and explore opportunities at its new Career Innovation Center. Fine Arts. Strings teacher Kristen Patterson proposed that MA consider offering biennial European trips through the College Ambassadors of Music program. She reviewed MA's current arts offerings, which include 2D and 3D visual arts, drama, theater, film study, and theater tech. Patterson recommended organizing the arts program into 3 dedicated rooms: ceramics in the kiln room, digital multimedia in the tech room, and visual arts in the current choir room. To support the expansion, MA would need to hire an additional art teacher, purchase supplies and digital applications, update curriculum, and build a new choir room. She cited past strategic plans that identified fine arts, music, and drama as MA's strengths, but noted the lack of a performance space as a weakness. MA currently uses the East Campus practice gym for some performances. Patterson said the school's greatest need is an auditorium with space for set construction and storage, a music pit, dedicated sound and lighting, and comfortable seating. She estimated a new auditorium would cost $15 million, while converting the practice gym into a black box theater would cost $1 million to $2 million, plus staffing and utility expenses. She praised the quality of MA's arts classes and faculty but said the school needs more students to form a band and more programs to retain students. MA hosts the only strings program in the district but currently rents space at district-operated high schools for concerts and choir performances. Athletics. Secondary School Athletic Director Lanny Vance said MA must invest in its own athletic facilities to retain 8th grade students, noting that Palmer Ridge and Lewis Palmer High Schools offer strong programs. MA's high school identity is underdeveloped, and students lack a dedicated field and gym, she said. Vance called athletics a magnet for retention, saying it builds pride, leadership, and community. She said MA could offer a personalized, character-first sports experience focused on agility and culture rather than program size. Without athletics, MA risks losing a key cultural anchor. Now in her 2nd year on staff and 3rd year coaching, Vance helped grow the girls' basketball program and unify boys and girls' team culture to increase parent engagement. She is working to launch match wits and speech and debate teams and is exploring 6- or 8-man football, a high school cheer program, and varsity boys volleyball. MA has some of the needed equipment and would fundraise to reduce costs. Vance's mission centers on putting students first, with athletics as a tool for character development. Her vision is for MA to be recognized statewide by 2030, develop leaders, and win with integrity. She said MA's small size allows for high leadership potential and greater varsity opportunities. The program is character-first, agile, and community-driven, with an integrated K-12 pipeline. Expected outcomes include a 20% to 30% increase in high school retention within 3 years, stronger student engagement, leadership development, and enrollment growth. She recommended using social media to highlight teams and engaging students and parents to identify interests. She urged investment in facility upgrades, coaching staff recruitment and training, digital infrastructure for visibility, and scholarship and sponsorship programs. A booster club could support fundraising and manage scholarships. Board Treasurer Craig Carl asked about D38 contributions to coaching stipends for CHSAA-sanctioned sports, noting that District 11 pays him to coach at Coronado High School. Executive Director Colin Vinchattel said MA must fund its own programs or contract with the district. He added that, as the only boys volleyball program in the district, MA might qualify for additional funding. Marketing proposal. At the August 14 meeting, Carl said he and Vice President Lindsey Clinton have a goal to increase enrollment by 125 students by 2027 and would need to partner with a third-party firm on a multi-year basis to achieve this target. He described a recent meeting with MA's internal marketing team as energizing and said the team is aligned with the goals. He emphasized the importance of investing in the current team while leveraging external expertise and said he would present more details at the upcoming special meeting. At the August 25 meeting, the board heard a presentation from principal consultant Josh Yancey of the Yancey Group, who partnered with Jesse Lang of Fish Bite Creative and Bill Roberson of MyCom Team to develop a marketing proposal. Lang attended to answer questions. Yancey said MA faces brand confusion, digital gaps, and inconsistent messaging, which hinder enrollment. Competing schools tell clearer stories, while MA's value remains unclear to families. He emphasized that clarity would drive enrollment growth and strengthen the pipeline. He described his team as culturally aligned professionals with local parental insight and traditional values, experienced in story brand marketing for education and nonprofits. Proposed deliverables include discovery sessions, a messaging playbook, digital audit, opportunity map, and strategic roadmap. Phase 1, a 9 to 12-week discovery process, would cost $20,000. Phase 2 implementation would cost $35,000, with timing based on deliverables. Phase 3 ongoing support did not include a defined cost. Carl said MA's internal marketing team would focus on retention, while the external team would target new enrollment. Clinton asked about timeline flexibility and the use of AI in content creation. Yancey and Lang said several of their tools leverage AI as an assistant and emphasized the iterative nature of their process. Graham asked if the timeline could be shortened to 4 to 6 weeks. Clinton noted that other schools are already active on social media, and MA aims for December, intent to return, commitments. Yancey and Lang said they would explore a faster timeline with Roberson. Universal Pre-Kindergarten. Director of Preschool Christy Hayes proposed MA opt into Colorado's Universal Pre-Kindergarten, UPK, program, which funds 15 hours per week for all 4-year-olds at $608.56 per month, or 30 hours for qualifying children at $1,080.71. Parents of non-qualifying children may choose 30 hours but must pay the cost difference. MA currently charges $450 per month for half-day preschool, increasing to $500 with enrichment. Full-day preschool costs $950, or $1,000 with enrichment. 34 MA students qualify for UPK, which would generate $240,000 in funding. Hayes noted UPK is funded by a sin tax on cigarettes and is not subject to federal or state education cuts. Clinton said parents have expressed strong interest in MA joining UPK. Hayes reported 4 UPK sites in D38 and additional providers nearby, including Bright Start, Hope Montessori, Antelope Trails Elementary in D20, and Tri-Lakes Community Preschool. El Paso County has 237 UPK providers, 74 school-based, 57 home-based, and 105 community-based. MA has faced declining preschool enrollment and staffing shortages, resulting in limited breaks and no lunch coverage. Clinton said the program is not meeting its revenue goals this year. MA previously opted out of UPK due to curriculum concerns. Hayes confirmed MA's curriculum currently meets UPK standards, and commitment would be limited to 1 year, allowing flexibility if future changes conflict with MA's philosophy. The board unanimously approved MA's immediate participation in UPK. Board decisions. The board unanimously approved an updated organizational chart that reverts to a more traditional format showing the chain of command. It also approved the middle and high school athletic handbooks along with the 2025-26 school board meeting calendar. The board approved a kindergarten school readiness waiver that allows MA to opt out students from 6 to 8 required assessments in the first 60 days. Vin Chattel said the assessments took away from instruction time, and MA already has its own tools that are more concise. The board approved its yearly Memorandum of Understanding (MOU) with Pikes Peak Business and Education Alliance (PPBEA) for career exploration and training. It also approved a one-time stipend for an employee who put in extra duty due to extenuating circumstances. The board unanimously passed policy IJRBMA parental notification and opt-out for curriculum materials potentially conflicting with religious beliefs after making some minor changes based on parental feedback. Highlights. Board meeting highlights include Expulsion upheld. The August 14 meeting started with an executive session to conduct a student expulsion appeal hearing. Upon return, Graham moved to affirm the decision of the administration regarding the expulsion, and the board unanimously voted to do so. Executive Director Vinchattel thanked the Design Advisory Committee for its ideas, discussion points, and tough decisions that helped to guide the discussion with CRP architects. He also thanked the board for supporting the staff breakfast and board member Jalinda Digert for training on foundational points like core knowledge and MA's educational philosophy. Financial Graham announced that MA had received a $1.375 million anonymous donation, which was used to buy the parking lot at the West Campus and to pay for the modulars at East Campus. He also noted that MA would receive $2.2 million from the Employee Retention Tax Credit, ERTC, and would use some of that money to pay returning teachers a one-time bonus since they had had to freeze salaries. Finance Director Laura Poland reviewed the June financials by school and fund, saying that total income for all three schools was $2.9 million. The preschool fund had a slight loss of $64,000 for the year. The MA School Board meets at 6:30 p.m. on the second Thursday of each month. The next regular board meeting is scheduled for Thursday, September 14, at 6:30 p.m. at the East Campus. The agenda and packet are available at bit.ly/maboardocs. Jackie Burr-Hans can be reached at jackieburhans@ocn.me. Lewis Palmer D38 Board of Education, August 18, Board discusses Facilities Planning, Career and Innovation Center, Budget. By Harriet Halbig. The Lewis Palmer D38 Board of Education discussed progress on the Career and Innovation Center, Facilities Planning, and the supplemental budget at its August 18 meeting. Career and Innovation Center. New Director of Innovative Programs Amy Cienkowski spoke of progress in readying the Career and Innovation Center, CIC, for occupancy during the fall semester. Cienkowski reminded the board that the goal of the CIC is to offer pathway-aligned programs and work-based learning. Course offerings were developed based on conversations with similar centers in other districts, local businesses, and potential supporters in the industry. It was decided early in the process to offer courses in such areas as welding, engineering, homebuilding, and health science. Later in the process, it was decided to house the Transitions program in the CIC building. Cienkowski pointed out that development of the course offerings and demolition and reconstruction of parts of the physical building were achieved in much shorter time than originally anticipated. Inspections have been completed. The final step is to acquire a certificate of occupancy, and students began to attend classes on August 25. An open house for district staff was scheduled for August 22 and a ribbon cutting shortly thereafter. There are 136 students registered for classes at the center. Director of Planning, Facilities, and Grounds Melissa Andrews said that attention has been paid to making parking lots and all facilities ADA compliant so that students arriving by bus will be able to navigate the entrances. She showed a brief slideshow of progress on the interior of the building. It is hoped that coursework will be followed by total immersion in the form of internships or externships. Chief Business Officer Brett Ridgway briefly explained that the CIC is located in an enterprise zone. This program, administered by the Office of Economic Development and International Trade, enables individuals or businesses who donate funds or stock to receive a tax credit of 25% for monetary contributions and 12.5% for stock. The town of Monument brought this program to Ridgway's attention. He said that the district qualifies for participation because it is developing the local workforce. Former Director of Innovative Programs Jessica McAllister spoke briefly about her experience in planning the center. Priority 4, Operations and Facility Planning. Priority 4 of the district's strategic plan addresses facilities planning. Andrews explained the process for evaluating the condition of district facilities and prioritizing projects to improve them. During the 2024-25 school year, members of the Facilities Department and school staff members conducted walkthroughs of building interiors. In 2025, walkthroughs of the exterior were conducted. A spreadsheet was created to prioritize the urgency of improvements by school for jobs such as painting walls and stripes on playing fields and replacing roofs and heating and cooling equipment. An additional goal is to document maintenance requirements such as striping and waxing floors, which happen on a predictable basis. To ensure transparency, Andrews said that the spreadsheet will soon be available on the district website. To view the spreadsheet, please go to the district website, lewispalmer.org, Board of Education, Board Docs by the meeting date. Current projects include making final arrangements for the district's downtown property. The Monument Planning Commission has approved the district's proposed use of the property. Yet to come is approval by the Town Council. Surveying has been completed. Once the Town Council has voted on September 15, the sale of a parcel to Tri-Lakes Cares may be completed. The department will also evaluate operational performance within the district in such areas as transportation, nutrition, grounds, and facilities. Budget Report. Ridgway reported on minor changes in the budget covering the fiscal year ending June 30. He said that generally, the district succeeded in spending 98% to 100% of its budget during the 2024-25 year. Some unexpected revenue came from an insurance settlement due to a truck accident. He said that thousands of individual accounts are involved in the budget process, and he is attempting to separate them all to examine the district's finances in detail. To view Ridgway's presentation, please see Board Docs. The Board voted to approve the supplemental budget. Staff recognition. The Board presented Elevate 38 staff recognition to 2 departments in the district. The Transportation Department was recognized for its contributions to the success of the town's 4th of July festivities. Transportation Manager Julia Beta introduced members of her team who drove buses to ferry people from Lewis Palmer High School to the parade site, decorated a bus to drive in the parade and cleaned the bus afterward. She especially thanked Van Kimmie for driving the shuttle bus. Members of the team were awarded plaques for their contributions. The district communications team was recognized for a number of achievements. Director of Communications Amy Matisek was recognized for being accredited in public relations for her drive, professionalism, and principles. This accreditation involved an online course and a lengthy exam. Matisek recognized social media specialist and photographer Stephanie Gonzalez, who received awards for her work on the state and national levels and was named Rookie of the Year at the state level by the School Public Relations Association. Communications specialist Tyler Dumas, who operates the board meeting live stream, was also recognized. New administration members. In her Superintendent Spotlight, Superintendent Amber Wetstein introduced new Director of Innovative Programs Amy Ciankowski and new Human Resources Director Michaela Vanderheiden. Action items. The board voted to approve changes in some policies involving school enrollment and other issues. Notable among these was the policy that members of the board will not receive compensation for their time. The board approved a resolution to contact the El Paso County Clerk and Recorder to confirm participation in the November 4 election. Vicki Wood was designated as the district's representative. The subject of student fee revisions was pulled for discussion from the consent agenda. Ridgway said that there is a fee schedule for all in-district students to participate in sports and some classes. Part of the per-pupil revenue for all students contributes to these fees. In the case of sports where out-of-district students participate, it was decided that the annual fee per pupil will be $150. Sports include swimming and ice hockey. The board approved the consent agenda. The Lewis Palmer D38 Board of Education meets at 6 p.m. on the third Monday of the month at the district's Learning Center, 146 Jefferson Street in Monument. The next meeting is September 15th. For information, contact VWOOD@lewispalmer.org. Harriet Halbig may be reached at harriethalbig@ocn.me. Monument Town Council, August 4th and 18th, Ordinances, Resolutions Pass. By Marlene Brown. The Monument Town Council held its regular meeting on August 4th at the Monument Town Hall. All members of the council were present except Kenneth Kimple, who attended remotely. An oath of office was performed for newly hired Officer Hailey Lesseberg and affirmed by Chief Reagan of the Police Department. Next on the agenda was a presentation by Becky Leinweber, Executive Director of the Outdoor Recreational Initiative. Outdoor Pikes Peak Initiative, OPPI, is a 501c3 nonprofit that partners with elected officials, the state forestry and wildlife departments, and county land managers, landowners who have similar goals and values for the Pikes Peak region, including El Paso, Teller, and Fremont counties. For more information, see pipora.org. Dan Ungerlater, Director of the Monument Planning Commission, presented the following. Ordinance Number 15/2025, approving a major amendment to the planned unit development for native sun construction at 15010 Woodcarver Road. The Planning Department found a 2021 annexation and development agreement, and if certain conditions are met, 1. Municipal water, probably from Forest Lakes Metro District, most likely will be brought to the property. 2. The owner of Native Son is required to improve and dedicate a set portion of Woodcarver Road. Staff requested that this case be continued until August 18. Ordinance number 16 to 2025, an ordinance adding Chapter 2.26 to Title 2 of the Monument Municipal Code to establish a town engineer. The ordinance will include duties and responsibilities of the position. The qualifications to fill the duties include engineering-related issues, ordinance modifications, public works standards, and construction specifications. Also, they must be able to work with the town staff to review and comply with federal, state, and county permits and applications, work with staff to help develop competitive and complete grant applications or funding proposals, serve as the town's representative during reviews, plan approvals, construction management, and project closeouts. The engineer will be a subcontractor, work with the staff closely, and will be hired by the town manager. The ordinance was approved by the council. The interview process has been completed. The candidate was scheduled to come to the town council on August 18 for final approval, and the town manager will sign the contract. Resolution number 49 to 2025 was presented by Tom Tharnish, Director of Public Works, for the contract with Implied Ingenuity for the repair to well number 7. The well has been offline since July 9, and it's considered critical to get it done. Implied Ingenuity was able to get to the job done quickly and was able to identify the problems. The contract is now over $87,000 to get the repairs done and the well back online. The council approved the resolution 7-0. Resolution number 50 to 2025, to appoint a new member of the Planning Commission, was also presented by Ungerlater, who asked the council to approve Valerie Balmer as an alternate member with her term ending in December 2026. She will be eligible to become a member if a position becomes open. The council approved the resolution 7-0. Resolution 51 to 2025, Human Resources asked for approval of a resolution regarding compensation. Resolution 52 to 2025, Human Resources asked for approval of a new process to evaluate the town manager. Both Human Resources resolutions were approved. The documents can be found on the town website, townofmonument.org. At the town council's regular meeting on August 18, all members were in attendance, including Councilman Kimple calling in from Oklahoma City. The council considered the following: Liquor License Authority, Festival Application/Liquor License for GDP Incorporated DBA Pikes Peak Brewing Company applied to hold a one-day permit for the Bines and Brews Festival on September 20, at Limbach Park, 151 Front Street. The request was approved 7-0. Ordinance number 15 to 2025 was continued from the August 4 meeting. The request involved consideration to approve a major amendment to the planned unit development for Native Son construction. See the August 4 information above. The Planning Commission has determined that the conditions of the agreement have been met and may apply to this request. The staff needs to complete its assessment request to move the public hearing to September 15. A motion to continue action was approved 7-0. Ordinance number 16 to 2025, to establish an independent contractor position of town engineer. Ungerlater said the town has been using an on-call engineer since 2017. The planning department began to seek qualified applicants and formalize the role of town engineer by passing ordinance number 16 to 2025 on August 4. Ultimately, a resolution to approve a professional services agreement for town engineer between IMEG Consultants and the town of Monument passed 7-0. Resolution 54 to 2025, an amendment of the Intergovernmental Agreement, IGA, with the Colorado Department of Transportation reducing contracted funds by $684,595, with the new contract amount of $8.177 million to be provided for design and construction of the Jackson Creek Parkway expansion project. The motion was approved 7-0. Resolution number 55 to 2025, to request that the Town Council recover costs related to processing online payment starting September 1 that will be charged to the consumer at the time of payment, including late fees. The motion was approved 7-0. Town Manager Madeline Van Den Hoek said that this year's 4th of July parade was one of the largest in terms of parade viewers, up to 24,000 people. She said Monument received a $100,000 grant from Community Block Grants to be used for the Heart of Monument Play Park. Also, the strategic plan is being finalized and is set to be presented in October. The document is posted on townofmonument.org. The Town Council normally meets on the first and third Monday, unless the Monday is a legal holiday, when the meeting will be held the following Tuesday. The next meeting was scheduled for September 2nd. Meetings are held at the Town Hall, 645 Beacon Light Road, Monument. Marlene Brown can be reached at marlenebrown@ocn.me. Monument Planning Commission, August 13. Planning Commission seeks community input on future development. By Janet Sellers. The Monument Planning Commission held a meeting August 13 to discuss potential development standards for undeveloped properties adjacent to residential areas, emphasizing the community's desire to preserve the town's small-town character. At this meeting, Town Planner Dan Ungerleider introduced Valerie Baumer, recently appointed as an alternate member of the Planning Commission by the Town Council. The Commission continues to seek members to act as alternates when needed. Baumer's professional background includes project management, risk management assessments, and government planning, primarily military/government contexts. She expressed enthusiasm to learn and contribute, noting similarities between local planning processes and her prior work. The Commission welcomed her, no questions were asked. The Commissioners expressed concerns about how certain commercial uses, such as hotels, drive-thrus, banks, and outdoor entertainment, could impact home values and neighborhood character. They stressed the importance of maintaining the small-town feel that residents value, while still allowing for carefully planned commercial growth. Staff members, including Maryam Moradian, senior planner, clarified that any zoning changes would primarily apply to undeveloped parcels and that spot zoning is not allowed. Options under consideration include amending planned unit developments, PUDs, or establishing contract-based restrictions for property sales, specifying allowed uses, building placement, and design standards. Commissioners highlighted Front Street's small-scale development as a potential model, featuring live-work units and retail spaces suitable for small businesses. The Commission voted 7-0 to pause further discussion until the staff can refine proposals, develop clear standards, and provide additional analysis. The staff will also engage with the community to gather input on what types of development residents find acceptable near homes. Other announcements during the meeting included updates on Monument's comprehensive plan, ongoing public outreach efforts, and preliminary stormwater assessments from consultants. The staff noted that findings will guide long-term planning and funding for infrastructure improvements, particularly regarding the Fountain Creek watershed. The planning staff also reminded the Commissioners that all meeting resources, including municipal codes, past planning documents, and research reports, are being compiled into an accessible online binder to aid in decision-making and public transparency. The Commission plans to revisit the discussion once the staff returns with refined proposals and recommendations, including detailed maps and standards for potential small-scale commercial development. Residents are encouraged to stay engaged as the process unfolds, with opportunities for public input continuing through the comprehensive plan updates later this fall. The Commission advises the Town Council on land use and development issues. The Commission's recommendations are based on local and state laws, zoning, and municipal codes. The Planning Commission usually meets on the second Wednesday of each month. The next meeting is scheduled for September 10, according to the website schedule. For further information on Planning Commission meetings, please visit www.townofmonument.org/263/planning-commission-board-of-adjustment or contact 719-884-8028. A recording with a transcript of the meeting is also available. Janet Sellers can be reached at janetsellers@ocn.me. Monument Fire District, August 27, Money Market Fund approved, additional repairs needed. By Natalie Barsh. At the Tri-Lakes Monument Fire Protection District, TLMFPD, DBA Monument Fire District, MFD, meeting on August 27, the board approved an interest-bearing public funds money market account, authorized additional repairs to the Station 2 apparatus bay concrete and drains, and approved changes to the 2025 organizational staffing chart. The board heard that the 2024 audits and financial statements were further delayed and received multiple updates. The district marked the retirement of Lieutenant Kevin Richmond and Battalion Chief Scott Ridings. The board held an executive session pursuant to Colorado Revised Statute Section 24-6-402, 4E, to determine positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, and to instruct negotiators relating to labor negotiations. Director Cody Peterson was excused. Staff retirement marked. Kovacs said that all the bells and whistles were pulled out for 2 retirement ceremonies held at Station 2 to mark the retirement of Richmond on July 31 and Ridings on August 9. Financial update. Treasurer Tom Kelly said the district was at 58.3% of the total budget year to date as of July 31 and presented the following. The combined overall revenue received year to date is about $19.825 million and 81.8% of the 2025 income projected annual revenue set at about $24.235 million. Overall expenses year to date are about $9.963 million and 53.1% of the projected expense budget set at about $18.764 million. The district had about $24.577 million in total checking/savings, about $19.325 million in operations/general fund. Kelly said the district had received 90% of the property taxes, boosting the operations/general fund by $3.2 million. All 33 electronic transactions were appropriate and within budget, and of note was $310,000, Front Range Apparatus Station 4 Ambulance. $152,496, Flintco LLC, Station 4/Mitchell Property. $78,000, Becker FRCO, Single Layer PPE. $156,888, Kaiser Permanente Health Insurance. $9,140, Wex Bank Incorporated, Fleet Fuel. Fire Chief Andy Kovacs said the district received a $20,000 grant from the state to help fund the purchase of the single-layer personal protective equipment. The board accepted the financial report as presented, 6-0. Note, the new ambulance was placed into service on August 8 at Station 4. See snapshot on page 20. Public Funds Money Market Account. Representatives from Community Banks of Colorado, the district's local banking partner for the past 12 years, presented an option for the board to consider, creating an interest-bearing public funds money market account to maximize earnings for the district's excess/idle funds. The public funds money market account will initially be set up to earn 2.5%, and at about $20 million invested would generate about $500,000 annually in interest gains. The rate is variable and subject to change as defined by the terms of the account agreement, with no market risk, fully secured under the Public Deposit Act, with no penalties, no fees associated, and no withdrawal limits. The board voted 6-0, approving the establishment of an interest-bearing public funds money market account with Community Banks of Colorado. Station 2 Additional repairs. Division Chief of Administration Jamie Bumgarner said it is interesting sometimes that when you do things, there are unintended consequences for your actions. Previously, the Station 2 apparatus bays were wide open, and when the trucks were washed in the bays on the days with below freezing temperatures, the water would run to the back of the bay and crews would squeegee the water to the drains. Fast forward 6 months, and the remodel added weight/workout, decontamination, and bunker gear rooms at the rear of the station, and now the water runs to the back of the bay under the rubber matting and into those rooms. The issue was brought to the administrative staff attention after the reopening of the station. He requested the board approve additional funding for Flintco to replace and extend the French drains and improve the concrete direction to drain effectively in the apparatus bays at Station 2. The additional repairs were not part of the remodel but are necessary to complete the project. The repairs will take care of the excess water runoff and could begin within the next 2 weeks. The project is expected to take about 3 or 4 weeks to complete. Crews will move out during the process. President Mark Gunderman asked why the architects had missed the drain issue. Bumgarner said he and the architects thought the existing drains would be sufficient with the apparatus parked in the original spots, but after reoccupying the station, the crews stated they were pushing water out manually. Director Tim DeLeon said mold will begin to grow under the matting if the problem is not taken care of immediately, and suggested the district consider a product application to protect the concrete against oil stains. In a 6-0 vote, the board authorized up to $60,000 for Flintco to make the Station 2 apparatus bay concrete and drain repairs. Note, the remodel of Station 2 cost $1.719 million. See snapshot on page 21. 2024 Audit Report Status. Kovacs said he and District Administrator Jennifer Martin had been pressing CBIZ to have the 2024 audits and financial reports for MFD and Donald Westcott Fire Protection District 2024 audits ready for final review and approval at the meeting, but the audits continue to be reviewed internally by the auditors. Martin confirmed the 2024 audit filing extensions were submitted to the state for both audits. Kovacs said the 2026 budget is almost complete, but the final numbers from the 2024 audit are not available due to the delayed audits and financial statements. The board will receive the final position before accepting the audits at a future board meeting, but there are no significant changes from the presentation in June, said Kovacs. 2025 Organizational Chart Changes. Kovacs proposed changes to the 2025 organizational chart and said that in light of the retirement of the accreditation manager ridings and the addition of the executive battalion chief position, the district does not have a deputy chief or division chief of operations position, and I am not effectively managing all 9 direct reports, so much so that annual performance appraisals were not all documented in 2024. The original plan was to expose all 5 battalion chiefs through to the executive battalion chief position to gain administrative work experience for a year, and taking 5 years to achieve, but all 5 battalion chiefs have had some administrative level of exposure in recent years. He proposed adding a division chief of operations, battalion chief position, downgrading the accreditation manager position below battalion chief level, and the pay scale change would be a wash. Letters of interest will be sought, and the positions will be filled internally. The chart would be effective within the next few weeks and carry over into fiscal year 2026, said Kovacs. The board approved the changes to the 2025 organizational chart, 6-0. Chief's Report. Kovacs said that as a result of the recent retirements a lieutenant promotion board was held, and firefighter/paramedic Derek Thorne was selected to fill the position vacated by Richmond. The accreditation manager position held by Ridings has been filled, and the new employee will begin September 22. Kovacs highlighted the following. The district's reciprocal closest unit response with Black Forest Fire/Rescue Protection District, BFFRPD, had increased to 14 mutual aid ambulance and engine responses, 10 in June, with BFFRPD responding to MFD 3 times in June/July. July was a slower month compared to July 2024, but the district overall has been busier in 2025 than 2024. The first candidate offered the BFFRPD fire chief position has declined the position. It will likely be several weeks before the selection process is complete. The special session held by the state to address the deficit had no direct impacts on the fire district. Administrative office move. Bumgarner said the district administrative staff is anticipating the move to its administrative building/storage facility at 19775 Mitchell Avenue, Monument on September 8. Executive session. The board moved into an executive session at about 5:30 p.m., pursuant to Colorado Revised Statute Section 24-6-402(4)(e), to determine positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, and to instruct negotiators relating to labor negotiations. Kovacs confirmed to this reporter that when the board returned to regular session, no action was taken and the meeting adjourned at 6:10 p.m. Meetings are usually held on the 4th Wednesday every month. The next regular meeting is scheduled for September 24 at 4:30 p.m. at Station 1, 18650 Highway 105. For Microsoft Teams virtual joining instructions, agendas, minutes, and updates, visit www.monumentfire.org or contact Director of Administration Jennifer Martin at 719-484-9011. Natalie Barsh can be reached at nataliebarsh@ocn.me. Woodmoor Water and Sanitation District, August 11, water tank recoat contract awarded. By James Howell. At its August meeting, the Woodmoor Water and Sanitation District, WWSD, board heard a summary of the bids to recoat a water storage tank from Richard Hood, a project manager with JVA Consulting Engineers Incorporated. His presentation was followed by a vote to award the contract. The board got a recommendation to move to a new online billing company from Office Manager Corey Lynch. Finally, the board heard financial and operational reports. Recoat contract awarded to Cableco. Hood told the board that the district's 1 million-gallon steel water storage tank located between Jackboot Way and Caribou Way in South Woodmoor needs to be sandblasted and coated with Sherwin-Williams paint. Corroded joints will need to be re-welded, Hood said. Hood explained that the schedule for the recoat is critical because it is tied to the construction of a new concrete water storage tank at the same location that will increase the district's capacity to store water. The concrete tank, which is being built by preload, must be complete and filled with water before the existing tank can be emptied and recoated. The recoating must be complete before the start of cold weather, Hood said. 5 bids were received. Coveco submitted the lowest bid, at $336,000, Viking Painting LLC submitted the highest at $1.3 million. Hood recommended awarding the contract to Coveco. The board voted unanimously to do so. New online billing provider chosen. At previous meetings, Lynch discussed inaccuracies in bills calculated by Express Bill Pay, the district's online billing provider, and the steps staff were taking to ensure customers receive correct bills. At the August meeting, Lynch recommended the district move to a new provider, CASL. WWSD is already using CASL for other services, and the company has recently added online bill payment to its portfolio. District Manager Jesse Schaefer said CASL charges more for spot automated clearinghouse (ACH) payments than Express Bill Pay. ACH payments move money from one bank to another without a physical exchange of currency. He recommended that spot, or on-demand, ACH payments be dropped in favor of ACH payments only on the 20th of each month to keep costs low. The board had no objections to the transition to CASL, and Schaefer said he would review the issue with the board when implementation was 30 days away. Financial and operational reports. In his financial report, Board Treasurer Dana Franzen noted accounts receivable were high because he was reporting right after bills had been sent but before customers had time to pay their bills. Overall, the district was on track budget-wise, where we should be, he said. The board voted unanimously to accept Franzen's report. In his manager's report, Schaefer gave the board an update on the Loop water reuse project. He said the Loop's consultants were in full swing on design issues such as the engineering for the advanced water treatment facility, the lift stations, and pipelines. A request for proposals to expand the capacity of the Calhoun Reservoir would be published in the next few days, Schaefer said. Negotiations to purchase the Sundance pipeline from the Cherokee Metropolitan District were underway. Plans for lift stations, pipelines, water treatment and reservoir expansion were 30% complete, Schaefer said. The Loop is still being funded primarily by dollars from the American Recovery Plan Act, he said. In response to a question from Director Tom Rodham, Schaefer said he expected marketing efforts to educate the public about the project to begin next year. In his operations report, Operations Superintendent Dan LaFontaine said the water level in Woodmoor Lake was higher than typical during the summer months and that would make returning the lake to full capacity easier. The central water treatment plant is currently running entirely on surface water and the southern water treatment plant is treating groundwater. In her engineering report, District Engineer Sydney Salins told the board that she had sent out the completion certificate for the transmission line for Well 22 that morning. The drilling for Well 12R was complete, the sound walls were down, and site restoration was underway, Salins said. She expected Well 12R to be online by the end of the year. Saddle replacement would require road closures on Sunlight Way and Lions Head Drive, she said, noting the customers on those streets were notified with door hangers. The next meeting is on September 8 at 1 p.m. Meetings are usually held on the second Monday of each month at 1 p.m. at the district office at 1845 Woodmoor Drive. Please see www.woodmoorwater.com or call 719-488-2525 to verify meeting times and locations. James Howell can be reached at jameshowell@ocn.me. Donala Water and Sanitation District, August 13, 22, General Manager on administrative leave. By James Howell and Jackie Burr-Hans. The Donala Water and Sanitation District, DWSD, board met twice in August. Its regular meeting on August 14 was followed by a special meeting on August 22. At the regular meeting the board heard operational reports and then adjourned to an executive session. At the special meeting, the board considered and voted on 3 resolutions relating to complaints about leadership and then adjourned to an executive session. Operational reports. In his financial report, General Manager Jeff Hodge told the board that water sales stood at 40% of the expected amount due to rainfall. Revenue was still outpacing expenditures, he said, adding, as far as us keeping the lights on, producing water and making payroll, we're good. The board voted unanimously to accept the report. Hodge updated the board on the progress of the Loop, a water reuse project in which DWSD is one of 3 participating districts. Hodge said the Loop leadership is meeting with the contractors who will be working on the project to discuss procurement of equipment that requires long lead times, such as generators. On the water treatment side, granular activated carbon and ion exchange technologies are being reviewed, with the goal of avoiding 2 separate sets of disposal requirements. The Loop leadership is also negotiating with the Triview Metropolitan District regarding the purchase of that district's Sundance pipeline. Hodge said the Loop board is considering a public-private partnership framework for the financing the Loop will require. Board President Wayne Vanderschwer asked Hodge about any plans to replace Mark Valentine, who had been serving as the Loop's workflow manager until he resigned to take a position with Colorado Springs Utilities. Hodge said Merrick & Company, which contracted with the Loop to provide Valentine, would be bringing on new personnel to replace him. In his water report, Superintendent of Water Operations Ronnie Wright told the board that the district's Well 7D, adjacent to the DWSD headquarters on Holbein Drive, had completed the drilling phase and was being attached to a raw water line to deliver water to the Holbein treatment facility. He estimated the installation of electrical controls for the well would be completed by September 17. Wright told the board the rehabilitation of one of the district's 3 water storage tanks had encountered some problems. Employees of Viking Painting LLC, the company recoating the tanks, had damaged one of the tanks while pressure washing it. In addition, application of zinc coating had not been done properly, leading to flaking. Vanderschwer asked if Viking was absorbing the costs to fix these issues, and Wright said it was. Waste plant operator Aaron Tolman reported that all wastewater measurements were in compliance for the month. August 13 Executive Session. The August 13 meeting went into executive session to consider 3 agenda items: to receive legal advice regarding the district's pending water court case No. 24 CW 3019, to discuss negotiations regarding infrastructure for the Loop, and to confer with the district's attorney concerning workplace complaints. Hodge placed on paid administrative leave. At the August 22 special meeting, the board voted unanimously in favor of 3 resolutions. Resolution 2025-5, which authorizes paid administrative leave for Hodge and appoints accounts receivable specialist Christina Hawker as acting general manager. Resolution 2025-6, which authorizes an investigation into the district's workplace culture and complaints about leadership. Resolution 2025-7, which designates Hawker as the district's representative for decisions required by the district's intergovernmental agreements. Following the votes on the resolutions, the board adjourned to an executive session to consider 3 agenda items: the water court case mentioned above, a customer requesting a waiver from a required wastewater connection, and legal advice about workplace complaints. The next board meeting is on Thursday, September 18 at 1:30 p.m. Generally, board meetings are held on the 3rd Thursday of the month at 1:30 p.m. and include online access. Call 719-488-3603 or access www.donalawater.org to receive up-to-date meeting information. The district office is located at 15850 Holbein Drive, Colorado Springs. James Howell can be reached at jameshowell@ocn.me. Jackie Burr-Hans can be reached at jackieburhans@ocn.me. Monument Sanitation District, August 20. Parker explains Buc-ee's wastewater estimate. By Jackie Burr-Hans and James Howell. At its August meeting, the Monument Sanitation District, MSD, board heard an operational report from District Manager Mark Parker that clarified his previous remarks concerning the impact wastewater from the proposed Buc-ee's travel center would have on the district. Buc-ee's wastewater compared to residential estimate. At the previous board meeting, Parker told the board that the proposed Buc-ee's travel center was expected to produce about 27,000 gallons of wastewater daily, which would be a lot less than the amount generated by the residential development project, named Monument Ridge West, that had been proposed for the site but was abandoned in favor of the travel center. Parker said discussion of the travel center on social media prompted him to provide some detail regarding the calculation that led to his previous remarks. Parker explained MSD uses the industry standard method to estimate the amount of wastewater a residential development will generate. The Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, CDPHE, requires all residential development plans to assume each person will generate 75 gallons of wastewater per day. CDPHE also assumes, for planning purposes, each home will have 2.54 residents. Those 2 assumptions lead to an estimate of 190.5 gallons of wastewater per day from each residence. Parker said the Monument Ridge West proposal would have built a total of 355 residences, 300 apartments, 30 mixed-family units, and 25 single-family homes. Using the estimate of 190.5 gallons of wastewater per day, those residences would have generated just over 67,000 gallons of wastewater daily, Parker said. Based on usage data from existing Buc-ee's travel centers, the proposed travel center will generate about 27,000 gallons of wastewater daily. Parker emphasized that MSD does not pay any of the costs for new development. Buc-ee's paid for the engineering study of MSD's wastewater collection system that was done recently by GMS Engineering Incorporated, the company MSD selected to do the study, and which it has used many times in the past. Parker also said that, should the travel center plan go forward, Buc-ee's would have to pay for a lift station to be built, which Buc-ee's would operate. The lift station would have to be built to MSD's standard, he said. In most cases, Parker explained, developers pay for the construction of lift stations, and MSD takes ownership of them when they are complete. In the case of the travel center, the lift station would be owned, operated, and maintained by Buc-ee's. Monument Sanitation District meetings are held at 9 a.m. on the third Wednesday of the month in the District Conference Room at 132nd Street, Monument. The next regular meeting is scheduled for September 17th. See https://monumentsanitation.org. For a district service map, see https://monumentsanitation.org/district-map. Information: 71948148886. Jackie Burr-Hans can be reached at jackieburhans@ocn.me. James Howell can be reached at jameshowell@ocn.me. El Paso County Regional Loop Water Authority, August 28, Board considers public-private partnership financing. By James Howell. At the August meeting of the El Paso County Regional Loop Water Authority, EPCRLWA, or the Loop, Board President Jesse Schaefer amended the agenda to add a discussion of a potential public-private partnership framework that could be used to finance the infrastructure for the water reuse project. The board heard a progress report from Rebecca Hutchinson, a civil design engineer with Merrick & Company, who is acting as the Loop's workflow manager and coordinating the work being done by the consulting and engineering companies contributing to the project. Corbin from & Company, LLC, reported on the Loop's finances. Tallgrass Water interested in financing the Loop. Schaefer told the board he had received an indication of interest, IO, from Tallgrass Water, a Colorado-based company established in 2012, that funds water infrastructure projects. Tallgrass Water uses a public-private partnership, PPP, approach. PPPs are collaborations between governments and private enterprises in which the private side provides initial funding to build a project in return for a share of the operating revenue from that project. Schaefer emphasized signing the IOI was not a commitment to Tallgrass Water but was an agreement to negotiate exclusively with that company for a 90-day period to begin when all the Loop's design work has reached 30% completion. The design work underway includes engineering the water treatment facility, the lift stations, and the pipelines, and expansion of the Calhoun Reservoir. Schaefer said discussions had been held with Meridium and Epker, two other companies that provide PPP agreements. Schaefer recommended approving the IOI, and the board voted unanimously to move forward with Tallgrass Water. Progress report. Hutchinson told the board that work by Burns and McDonnell on the design of the water treatment facility and the pumps and pipelines was proceeding on schedule, and a tour of a water treatment facility and pump station in Castle Rock had been scheduled for September 4. Alignment of pipelines along Higbee Road was being discussed with Mountain View Electric Association, and Western States Land Services LLC will begin discussions with landowners regarding easements for the pipelines in the southern portion of the loop. Hutchinson said she had scheduled a meeting for September 2 with Cherokee Metropolitan District to discuss the purchase of that district's Sundance pipeline. Hutchinson said 4 companies had responded to the Loop's request for proposal to expand the capacity of the Calhoun Reservoir, and 2 of those companies would be interviewed before making a final decision. Financial report. From told the board that invoices totaling $94,548 had been received for July, and the board authorized from to pay them. He reported that the Loop had spent 7% of its $5.5 million budget for 2025. The next regular meeting is scheduled for September 18 at 9 a.m. Regular meetings are held on the third Thursday of each month at 9 a.m. at the Monument Town Hall at 645 Beacon Light Road. Workshop meetings are held the first Thursday of each month at 9 a.m. at the Monument Town Hall. Please see loopwater.org or call 719-488-3603 to verify meeting times and locations. James Howell can be reached at jameshowell@ocn.me. Triview Metropolitan District, August 21, traffic analysis results revealed. By Natalie Barsh. At the Triview Metropolitan District, TMD, meeting on August 21, the board received the results of a recent traffic analysis study, approved pursuing eminent domain to widen a public road should good faith negotiations fail, and a new lease agreement for a wireless company. The board heard that the Higbee Road project would begin next month. The board held an executive session to discuss the purchase and sale of water and land and agreements with the Town of Monument, TOM, and other governmental and private entities and associated entities. The session also discussed the purchase, acquisition, lease, transfer, or sale of real, personal, or other property interests needed by the district, including initiation of eminent domain proceedings. President Jason Gross was excused. Traffic Analysis Study Results. Adam Gomez P.E. of Kimley Horn presented the results of the Jackson Creek Parkway, JCP, Traffic Analysis Feasibility Study, and he said the westernmost access from the King Soopers parking lot left turn that crosses multiple lanes was included in the study, plus the Lion's Tail exit that also requires the crossing of multiple lanes to travel south on JCP. Gomez recommended a traffic roundabout, circle, on JCP at Lion's Tail Road to alleviate long wait times and dangerous turns at both left turn exits. A dedicated right turn lane bypass from Lion's Tail Road, maintaining the existing crosswalks and footpaths. A right turn only from the King Soopers parking lot. Gomez said the project is estimated to cost about $4.8 million, but costs could be reduced if the geological technician reveals that the paved areas can be salvaged. The estimate incorporates the potential for cost increases if the project is delayed for a few years and will likely take 6 to 10 months, but traffic flow can be maintained with a longer construction phase, said Gomez. District Manager James McGrady said the 2026 budget can include funding for the design of the project and go out for bid in 2026, with the construction phase planned for 2027. Eminent domain pursued. The board reviewed and considered approval of Resolution 2025-14, a resolution of the board authorizing McGrady to initiate eminent domain proceedings for the acquisition of right-of-way and real property interests necessary for the widening of Public Road Blevins Buckle Trail. The widening will include the installation of public utilities, public infrastructure, curb, gutter, and sidewalk, landscaping, and other improvements necessary for the installation of a public road accessing a 30-acre parcel of land known as the Legacy at Jackson Landing, should good faith negotiations fail. Assistant Manager Steve Sheffield confirmed to this reporter that when the board returned to the regular session, they engaged in discussion before unanimously approving a resolution 4-0, authorizing the district to pursue eminent domain for the land on the south side of Blevins Buckle Trail. Lease Agreement. General Counsel George Rowley requested the board consider approving a structure lease agreement with New Singular, AT&T, Wireless PCS LLC for the C-plant tank in Sanctuary Point. The district receives $1,800 per month with an annual 2% escalator, a benefit for the district. The structures will be color-matched to the tank, said Rowley. The board approved the structure lease agreement, 4-0. Higbee Road Project Updates. McGrady said the bonds for the Higbee Road project had been completed on July 30, for the voter-approved $12.6 million at an interest rate of 5.05%. Kiewit anticipates construction to begin in early September on the east side of Harness Road, working west installing utilities and storm pipeline for the widening project. For additional information about the project, visit https://triviewmetro.com. Executive Session. The board moved into executive session to discuss the purchase, acquisition, lease, transfer, or sale of real, personal, or other property interests needed by the district, pursuant to Colorado Revised Statutes, CRS, Section 24-6-402, including initiation of eminent domain proceedings. The board received legal advice pursuant to CRS Section 24-6-402, as it relates to water matters and agreements with the Town of Monument, TOM, and other governmental entities. The session also determined positions related to matters that may be subject to negotiations as it relates to an agreement with TOM, and acquisition of right-of-way for street improvements pursuant to CRS, Section 24-6-402, including initiation of eminent domain proceedings. Meetings are usually held on the third Thursday of the month at the district office located at 16055 Old Forest Point, Suite 302. The next regular meeting is scheduled for September 18 at 5:30 p.m. For meeting agendas, minutes, and updates, visit https://triviewmetro.com. Natalie Barsh can be reached at nataliebarsh@ocn.me. El Paso County Board of County Commissioners, August 5, liquor license approved. By Marlene Brown. At the regular meeting August 5 of the Board of County Commissioners, BOCC, a hearing was held on the application dated June 9 by Mountain View Cafe and Catering for a hotel and restaurant liquor license for their location at 111424 Black Forest Road. After testimony from staff of Mountain View Cafe and surveys received by local residents and neighbors that all had favorable comments, it was determined that the applicants had satisfactorily completed all the requirements of the Colorado Liquor Code. The board forwarded approval to the State Department of Revenue, Liquor Enforcement Division, the licensing authority. The board approved a 107-acre final plat for creating 10 single-family lots 1/3 mile east of the intersection of East Thunder Road and Gamblers Place. The property is located in RR5, Residential Rural, zoning. Also approved was a request by Flying Horse Land Company, LLC for a sketch plan for 1,821.3 acres adjacent to Schriever Air Force Base with plans for over 4,900 homes. It is located at 16661 Highway 94, Colorado Springs. It was reported last month that the Planning Commission denied the motion for approval with a vote of 3-5. This time, the BOCC approved the motion 4-1. The BOCC normally meets at the Centennial Hall Auditorium, 200 South Cascade Avenue, Colorado Springs, every Tuesday at 9 a.m., and the BOCC land use meetings are every second and fourth Tuesday at 9 a.m. For more information, go to bocc.elpasoco.com. Marlene Brown can be reached at marlenebrown@ocn.me. El Paso County Planning Commission, August 7, variance for rental unit rejected. By Marlene Brown. The El Paso County Planning Commission, EPCPC, held its regular bi-monthly meeting on August 7. All voting members of EPC and staff were present. The agenda was requested by Commissioner Eric Marais to be amended for the consent items to be heard as called-up agenda items. Item number VA 2523, Variance of Use, Spats Road, was moved from the consent items to the called-up agenda for hearing. This was a request by Jason and Emily Schott for approval of variance of use on 5.15 acres to allow an additional dwelling unit in the RR5 Residential Rural District. The property is about 1.5 miles northwest of the intersection of I-25 and Baptist Road. The Schotts were there for an additional second dwelling variance for a garage that was converted to a rental with living quarters. The garage was permitted in 2022 as unheated and unoccupied and later converted to living quarters without updating the permit. Jason Schott acknowledged making a mistake and was looking to correct the issue. Heat was installed in 2023 as the conversion to rental property was completed. Neighbors of the property testified they were concerned about the increased traffic and use of a long-term rental property that would increase their taxes on the surrounding properties. Though Commissioners Tim Trowbridge and Becky Fuller said the property was always intended to be a rental, and an attempt to circumvent the Land Development Code and Master Plan would only set a precedent for other owners to convert properties without proper approval, the request for hardship was not inherent, and they would vote against the request. A motion for disapproval of the consent item passed 5-2. The item will be forwarded to the Board of County Commissioners for its consideration. The EPCPC normally meets on the first and third Monday of the month at 2880 International Circle, Suite 110, in Colorado Springs at 9 a.m. You can view hearings remotely at https://planning-development.elpasoco.com/planning-community-development/2025-hearings-schedule/. Marlene Brown can be contacted at marlenebrown@ocn.me. Gleneagle Civic Association, August 12, GCA holds town hall to review rewritten covenants. By David Feudy. On August 12, the Gleneagle Civic Association, GCA, board held a town hall Zoom meeting to seek feedback from the Gleneagle community on a draft version of the community's Declaration of Covenants, Conditions, and Restrictions document. Board members Jimmy Owenby, GCA President, Steve Curry, Treasurer, Glenn Leimbach, Board Member at Large, Mark Connell, Board Member at Large, and Jeff McLemore, Board Member, along with GCA Legal Counsel Bryce Megan with Orton, Kavanaugh, Holmes and Hunt LLC were present. Before the town hall, the GCA board informed community members of the event through email on August 4 and 11, including a draft of the rewrite and outlining the need to rewrite the declaration in the latter email. In part, the August 11 email stated, "Our current documents, originally written decades ago, have become increasingly difficult to interpret and, in some areas, contradict provisions of the Colorado Common Interest Ownership Act, CCIOA." After careful consultation with the community's legal counsel, the board determined that a full rewrite, rather than piecemeal amendments, was the most effective way to bring our governing documents up to date. The email continued that the stated goals of the rewrite were to align the documents with current state law and regulations, simplify and streamline the language for ease of understanding, modernize the content to reflect the evolving character of our neighborhood. At the opening of the town hall, ONB reiterated the need for a rewrite. The board seeks to replace the existing covenants that were created in 1973 and updated in 1983 along with additional amendments after 1983. The existing covenants document is difficult for homeowners and the board to interpret and the board to enforce, he said. The goal is to create a clear, legally compliant with CCIOA and other laws and community-acceptable document that reflects changes that have occurred within the community. The draft also seeks to remove unenforceable provisions and outdated rights and powers held by the original developer since the community is now fully owned and managed by its members who clarify governance and operational roles within the GCA. ONB said the major reason for the rewrite is to clarify the governance and overall operation of the GCA. ONB said the board expressed thanks for the really good feedback received by email from community members before the town hall. He said the board will hold additional town halls including an in-person one, before a community vote is taken in November. Voting on the finalized covenants will be conducted by mail over 60 days to accommodate a quorum for the over 700 GCA households. ONB said all lot owners are members and there is one vote per lot. He also emphasized that this is the first draft with revisions to follow based on community feedback and board review. The town hall proceeded through 8 of the 12 articles in the document during its 2 hours, with the board providing a description and overview for each article and allowing for feedback and discussion with online community members. The following articles were covered: Article 1, Name and Location, Article 2, Definitions, Article 3, Association Membership, Allocation of Votes, and Allocation of Liability for Common Expenses, Article 4, Easement and Common Area, Article 5, Assessments, Article 6, Maintenance Responsibility, Article 7, Architectural Controls, Article 8, Covenants. The following provides an overview of what was discussed during the Covenants draft document review. The board clarified that there is no current intention to pursue a special assessment but included provisions for future boards to do so with a high approval threshold of 67% of total membership, rather than a simple majority. Article 5.6. A cap on annual assessments is proposed in the draft at $400 per lot, adjusted annually by the Consumer Price Index or 5%. This would maintain the community's small plan status as a limited expense HOA, being below the CCIOA threshold. Community members asked if a lower amount than $400 is possible and expressed concern over potential future increases. The board and attorney explained that the cap at $400 or less would be below the CCIOA threshold. The GCA annual assessment is presently at $67. It can only be increased at a maximum of 5% annually. A vote by the membership would be required if the board seeks an increase higher than that percentage. ONB stated that assessments have not kept up with what we are doing now, such as taking care of the open space. Borrowing provisions are included in the draft to allow the association to quickly access funds for emergencies, such as flood damage, with banks typically requiring pledges of future assessments as collateral. The board acknowledged community members' concerns about including borrowing guidelines and expressed willingness to consider adding those in the next revision. The document consolidates voting procedures, including quorum definitions and approval thresholds for various actions. Quorum requirements differ depending on the activity, whether for board meetings or membership voting. For example, a 20% member quorum, based on 2018 bylaws, is needed for voting during a board meeting to put an issue to vote to the general community. An approval of 67% of all members is recommended for special assessment approval instead of the present 51%, and a recommendation is being put forth in the draft for 80% member vote approval for changes to the open space. Homeowners are required to maintain their lot and make improvements consistent with community standards, with specific time frames, e.g., 15 days to control weeds, 30 days to complete maintenance and repair, for addressing violations. A discussion involved current practices involving notices from the board and submissions by neighbors for covenant violations. There was an expressed desire for the process to be professionally managed, fair, and equitable across the entire community. O&B noted that the latter is difficult with the present 4 volunteers. Community members expressed interest in formalizing the violation adherence process in the covenants to provide consistency and prevent overly strict enforcement. Megan suggested community members submit suggestions relative to Article 6.3 regarding failure to maintain. The covenants establish an Architectural Review Committee, ARC, responsible for approving property improvements, with a 30-day review period. If the ARC does not respond, the applicant can notify the board president they intend to proceed as identified in the application. If the association does not issue a written disapproval within 15 days, then the improvement can proceed and deemed in compliance, Article 7.8. The board plans to update the architectural guidelines to reflect modern community standards and accommodate changes such as artificial turf, which is allowed with ARC approval. Concerns were raised about the requirement for homeowners to pay for consultants hired by the board to review project applications, Article 7.5, especially for smaller projects, and members suggested including guardrails to prevent excessive review costs. The board acknowledged the need for flexibility in construction timelines due to contractor availability and other delays, and the potential inclusion of permit closeout requirements. The covenant's draft addresses the use of lots, attempting to balance the allowance of home-based businesses with restrictions to maintain residential character, e.g., limiting traffic. A discussion involved the existence and feasibility of short-term rentals, e.g., Airbnb. It was stated that Colorado courts define short-term rentals as residential and not a commercial business. There are no current restrictions on short-term rentals in the draft, but the board is open to future community-driven discussions on this topic because community members have expressed issues with such rentals. Leasing provisions include the association's right to require owners to evict tenants for covenant violations, Article 8.3, although this might conflict with recent Colorado tenant protection laws requiring 90-day notices, a legal complexity the board intends to review further. The board intends to announce another town hall after the next draft revision is completed and provided to the community. The town hall is expected to be held in the second week of September. David Feudy can be reached at davidfeudy@ocn.me. Woodmoor Improvement Association, August 27, Board hears short-term rental concerns. By Jackie Burr-Hans. The Woodmoor Improvement Association, WA, board met on August 27 to hear residents' concerns about short-term rentals and to review board member reports. Short-term rental nuisance concerns. Several residents came to the August meeting to express their concern and frustration with a nearby home that had been turned into an Airbnb, citing late-night noise and excessive cars parked on the property during summer rentals. One resident noted that the listing was targeted at large groups of 16 to 20. Although short-term rentals are not mentioned in Woodmoor's covenants, she noted that it says no property shall be a nuisance. She stated that she contacted the homeowner, who responded, but expressed concern about having to text them at 10 p.m. She asked if that is what we want for this neighborhood, noting that other neighbors are also frustrated. President Brian Bush said that all board members understood the residents' position. However, he noted that the state legislature passed Senate Bill 134 in 2024 that prohibited homeowners associations from banning home businesses, see https://leg.colorado.gov/bills/SB 24-134. The resident asked how to get the law changed and was advised to contact her state representative and have others do the same. Bush said that WIA has taken the position that short-term rental businesses must submit an application, provide a local point of contact, and agree to inform tenants of the covenants, rules, and regulations. The resident said the owner had been in business for a year and had not submitted an application. Bush said WIA would have that discussion with the owner. WIA will regulate the conduct of tenants and enforce rules and regulations against the property owners if it is notified that other residents are prevented from the quiet enjoyment of their property, Bush said. Until recently, WIA had not been notified of this case. Board member Jason Hen said WIA has several covenants that protect residents' peace, noting that parking on the grass and excessive noise are violations of the covenants. If residents reported to WIA, Woodmoor Public Safety, WPS, will ask the tenants to resolve the issues. A resident noted that the number of cars parked at the Airbnb exceeded the 4-car limit. Director of Public Safety Brad Gleason noted that El Paso County, in adopting Ordinance 22-002, took away WIA's authority over parking on county roads in Woodmoor. Han noted that the same rules and regulations on noise and parking could be used as a basis for a complaint against someone holding a family gathering. Bush emphasized that the same rules and regulations that apply to short- and long-term tenants also apply to owners. Most owners follow the rules, he said. Legally, short-term rentals are not, by definition, a nuisance, he said, but the conduct of tenants may become a nuisance. WA regulates under its nuisance provisions any conduct that interferes with a resident's right to enjoy the quiet use of their property. Han noted that WPS officers have body cameras that eliminate any concerns about hearsay. Both Gleason and Han offered the residents' contact numbers to call to report their complaints. Highlights. Treasurer Bush, speaking for Treasurer Pete Giusti, noted that there was money available for forestry to spend and asked Han to return with a plan to spend it or let the board know otherwise. Davis asked about a miscellaneous item that increased revenue by 3,000%. Bush said it was a one-time payment for an easement for well 12R. HOA, Administrator Denise Caliero said there were 105 unpaid accounts and that payments were trickling in or were settled when the homes were sold. There are 45 to 50 properties with accounts outstanding for multiple years. Covenants, Director Jennifer Davis reported 53 cases, including one unfounded complaint, and 4 violations for July. There were 48 issues resolved through courtesy letters. WIA processed 14 HOA checks in July and held 1 covenant hearing in August for open burning. She reminded residents to move trash cans out of sight after pickup, obtain permits to park trailers or RVs for more than 72 hours, and that the minimum fine for burning trash, slash, or pine needles starts at $5,000. Public safety, Gleason reminded residents that school is back in session and asked that they watch their speed and anticipate backups. There have been reports of possible mail thefts, he said, reminding residents to be mindful with the holidays approaching and sign up for informed delivery with the post office. Bush noted that bears are feeding in anticipation of winter. Architectural Control, Director Ed Miller reported 36 project submissions in May, including 26 approved administratively and 9 by the Architectural Control Committee. Year-to-date projects have been approved at a 98.5% rate. Forestry, Han said that WIA completed 18 forestry and firewise visits. The mitigation grant is ready for state inspection, but a review of current conditions must be completed before an application can be approved. Processing has been delayed by statewide fires, which have required all hands on deck. Common areas, Cutler noted that new windows were installed at the barn in the week of July 21 and that backflow testing was completed, with the results sent to Woodmoor Water and Sanitation District. Prairie dog mitigation was completed on July 26. The WIA Board of Directors usually meets at 7 p.m. on the 4th Wednesday of each month in the barn at 1691 Woodmoor Drive, Monument. The next meeting will be on September 24. See www.woodmoor.org to confirm meeting details. Jackie Burr Hans can be reached at jackieburhans@ocn.me. Letters to our community, open Dirty Woman Park to everyone. It seems the mayor and key city people voted to change the use options for Dirty Woman Park. Monument changed Dirty Woman Park from a public park to a private park for the mayor and his staff's use only, on July 4. The city only has 3 parks. Dirty Woman Park is the only full-service park. Limbach Park has bathrooms, no grills or parking. Lavalette Park has no bathroom, no grills, or parking. Limbach and Lavalette Parks are not available for July 4 due to the parade. Dirty Woman Park goes to the first bidder, which the city reserves for itself on January 1 each year. Over 18 years ago, the city invested by putting 3 grills in the park so more people could use it. Why would you spend the money to put in grills when no one can use them when the city reserves the pavilion? I request that we go back to the old rules. Current rules make no sense. Did the city and/or mayor think through any of the alternatives? Dirty Woman Park is the only park set up to have multiple groups. It was done that way when the city added all the extra grills under the tree line. Maybe the city could require more full-service parks. It's a beautiful area. This town needs more community areas, not more houses right next to each other. I talked to some city staff people, and they said we would need more people writing to the city to get the mayor to change his mind. Doug Anima. Our community news welcomes letters to the editor on topics of general interest to readers in the Tri-Lakes area. Guidelines for letters are found here. The information and opinions expressed in letters to our community are the responsibility of the letter writers and should not be interpreted as the views of OCN even if the letter writer is an OCN volunteer. When there is more than one letter, the letters are arranged in alphabetical order based on the last name of the author. Letters to our community. I'm running for D38 Board of Education. I'm Jackie Burr-Hans, and I'm excited to announce my candidacy for the Lewis Palmer D38 Board of Education. My deep commitment to public education, professional background in technology at IBM, time as a small business owner, experience as a facilities specialist at Tri-Lakes Cares, and years as an Our Community News, OCN, reporter give me a unique perspective on the challenges and opportunities ahead for our district. My husband and I moved to Monument in 1992. Our son attended Lewis Palmer schools from kindergarten through Palmer Ridge High School. From volunteering in classrooms and PTO, to serving district accountability and ad hoc committees, to reporting on school meetings for OCN, I have spent more than 20 years actively engaged in our schools and our community. Educators are the heart of D38, inspiring a love of learning, guiding students through challenges, and preparing them for successful futures. They deserve respect and compensation that match the exceptional results they deliver. I will advocate for policies that attract, support, and retain high-quality teachers. I believe in championing educational choices that allow every student to shine, whether through strong core academics, arts, athletics, dual enrollment, or the many options at the new Career Innovation Center. Our schools should open doors to the widest range of opportunities beyond graduation. Finally, I will build bridges between our schools and the wider Tri-Lakes community. All families in the district, even those without students in school, have a stake in the success of our future leaders. By fostering communication, transparency, and engagement, I will ensure that D38 continues to be a source of pride and strength for us all. I look forward to listening, learning, and working with you to support the future of our students and our community. Jackie Burr-Hans. Our community news welcomes letters to the editor on topics of general interest to readers in the Tri-Lakes area. Guidelines for letters are found here. The information and opinions expressed in letters to our community are the responsibility of the letter writers and should not be interpreted as the views of OCN even if the letter writer is an OCN volunteer. When there is more than one letter, the letters are arranged in alphabetical order based on the last name of the author. Letters to our community. Thanks to all for the big move. The recent move of the Silver Key Senior Center from Grace Best School to the Monument Community Presbyterian Church is concluded. I was privileged to work with the steering committee as well as assist with the many volunteers that came forward from near and far to complete the extensive move that involved sorting and designating what goes in storage or to the church and Goodwill. It took many trips and enthusiastic volunteers. I took several necessary trips to Goodwill, where all of the workers unloaded my jam-packed SUV. I gave my kudos to Brenda and Lauren, manager/supervisor. I've visited the new setup at the church and found it well attended and very well set up for the seniors. My compliments and thanks to all who made the necessary move painless. John H. Howe. Our community news welcomes letters to the editor on topics of general interest to readers in the Tri-Lakes area. Guidelines for letters are found here. The information and opinions expressed in letters to our community are the responsibility of the letter writers and should not be interpreted as the views of OCN even if the letter writer is an OCN volunteer. When there is more than one letter, the letters are arranged in alphabetical order based on the last name of the author. Letters to our community. Jackie for D38. I am writing to enthusiastically support Jackie Burr-Hans for the Board of Education. Jackie is exactly the kind of leader our schools need, dedicated, thoughtful, and deeply committed to ensuring every student has the opportunity to thrive. After years of unbiased reporting on all of our schools in D38, Jackie brings a unique blend of professional expertise and community involvement. She listens carefully, asks the right questions, and seeks balanced solutions. Most importantly, she values collaboration, transparency, and accountability, all qualities that build trust between families, teachers, and the district. In a time when our schools face tough challenges, Jackie offers steady leadership and a clear vision. She cares about academic excellence, fiscal responsibility, and creating a safe, supportive learning environment for all students. Her ability to engage respectfully with diverse perspectives will make her a unifying voice on the board. I am excited to cast my vote for Jackie Burr Hans, and I encourage others who want a strong advocate for our kids and community to do the same. Jackie has the heart, the skills, and the commitment to make a real difference. You can follow her and learn more about her platform on her Facebook page and at http://jackie4d38.com. Let's elect Jackie Burr Hans to the Board of Education. Our students, teachers, and families deserve nothing less. Heather Jacobson. Our community news welcomes letters to the editor on topics of general interest to readers in the Tri-Lakes area. Guidelines for letters are found here. The information and opinions expressed in letters to our community are the responsibility of the letter writers and should not be interpreted as the views of OCN even if the letter writer is an OCN volunteer. When there is more than one letter, the letters are arranged in alphabetical order based on the last name of the author. Letters to our community. Feral horses are not wildfire solutions. The idea that feral horses reduce wildfire risk and belong in wilderness areas is misleading and ecologically harmful. Despite romantic claims, today's feral horses are not native wildlife but are descendants of domestic horses brought by Europeans. Native wild horses have been absent from North American ecosystems for over 10,000 years. Ecosystems have since evolved without them. Claims that they control wildfire fuels ignore a critical fact: feral horses have no natural predators, and their populations grow unchecked. Unlike strategically managed livestock, wild horse herds cannot be moved or regulated by timing or intensity. They often overgraze and damage native grasses, trample wetlands, and degrade critical wildlife habitat. Far from reducing fire risk, this unmanaged grazing can make landscapes more vulnerable. Overgrazing invites invasive plants like cheatgrass, which dries early and fuels more frequent, intense wildfires. Studies show feral horses also outcompete native species such as pronghorn and bighorn sheep for scarce water and forage, especially during drought. Placing horses into protected wilderness areas, home to sensitive plant and animal species, is irresponsible. These landscapes are supposed to remain as undisturbed as possible, not serve as dumping grounds for undesirable and unwanted animals. Yes, we should treat horses humanely. But turning them loose into fragile ecosystems is not conservation, it's mismanagement. Real wildfire mitigation requires science-based strategies, prescribed burns, invasive species control, and targeted grazing, not introducing unregulated feral grazers. Let's respect the difference between wild mythology and ecological reality. Nathan Kettner. Our community news welcomes letters to the editor on topics of general interest to readers in the Tri-Lakes area. Guidelines for letters are found here. The information and opinions expressed in letters to our community are the responsibility of the letter writers and should not be interpreted as the views of OCN even if the letter writer is an OCN volunteer. When there is more than one letter, the letters are arranged in alphabetical order based on the last name of the author. Letters to our community. Response from columnist Janet Sellers. Question: Are wild horses non-native? A. They are reintroduced natives. Horses evolved in North America but went extinct about 10,000 years ago. Modern wild horses fill that old ecological niche. Some debate this, noting changes since then, but advocates see them as a restored keystone herbivore. Question: Do they outcompete wildlife like pronghorns or bighorn sheep? A. No. In fact, they can help ecosystems. At Anza Borrego NP, bighorn sheep deaths spiked after horses were removed. Mountain lions turned to sheep instead. Scientists note livestock, not horses, cause most rangeland damage. Livestock numbers are far higher and have heavier impacts. Question: Do they overgraze and raise wildfire risk? A. No. Horses roam widely, spreading out their grazing. This mobility prevents overuse and allows plants to recover. Even at fence lines, horse-grazed areas often show 30% more native grasses than cattle-grazed areas. Question: Isn't wildfire control better achieved with prescribed burns, invasive species control, and targeted grazing? A. In wilderness, burns and machines are not allowed. Here, wild horses act as natural fire managers. They eat flammable grasses and brush, lowering fire risk. A single horse can clear about 5.5 tons of fuel a year, the equivalent of reducing 5 to 7 acres of wildfire-prone vegetation. Our community news welcomes letters to the editor on topics of general interest to readers in the Tri-Lakes area. Guidelines for letters are found here. The information and opinions expressed in letters to our community are the responsibility of the letter writers and should not be interpreted as the views of OCN even if the letter writer is an OCN volunteer. When there is more than one letter, the letters are arranged in alphabetical order based on the last name of the author. Letters to our community, a proven advocate for our students, educators, and schools, vote for Jackie. As the school board election approaches this November, I'm writing to express my enthusiastic support for my friend, Jackie Burhans, a highly qualified and passionate candidate who has dedicated years of her time, energy, and expertise to improving public education in our community. I've known Jackie and her family since the early 2000s, and I can confidently say there are few individuals more committed to the success and well-being of our students, educators, and administrators. With a strong background in business, volunteering in public education/service, and community organizing, Jackie brings both knowledge and heart to every decision and discussion. What sets Jackie apart is not just her impressive qualifications and consistent commitment but her ability to truly listen and learn. Whether it's parents, teachers, students, admins, or board members, she takes the time to understand concerns and seek thoughtful, balanced solutions. Jackie believes that every child deserves access to a top-notch education and that schools should be safe, inclusive spaces that foster academic, artistic, athletic, and personal growth. Our district and school board needs strong leaders who are very well informed, engaged, highly competent, and ready to roll up their sleeves, and that's exactly what Jackie will do. I urge voters to support Jackie Burhans this November and help ensure our schools and district have the leadership they deserve. Gabrielle LeCramp. Our community news welcomes letters to the editor on topics of general interest to readers in the Tri-Lakes area. Guidelines for letters are found here. The information and opinions expressed in letters to our community are the responsibility of the letter writers and should not be interpreted as the views of OCN even if the letter writer is an OCN volunteer. When there is more than one letter, the letters are arranged in alphabetical order based on the last name of the author. Letters to our community, Monument Hill Kiwanis Awards grant to Quilts of Valor. The Monument Hill Kiwanis Club Board of Directors recently awarded a grant of $500 to the Colorado Springs Quilts of Valor Group. The Quilt of Valor Foundation has chapters throughout the county. The group's mission is to honor service members and veterans who have been touched by war with a comforting and healing quilt of valor. A quilt of valor is a quality, handmade quilt that is machine or hand-quilted. It is awarded to a service member or veteran who has been touched by war. The quilt says unequivocally, "Thank you for your service and sacrifice in serving our nation." With the support of the Monument Hill Kiwanis, our local chapter will continue to be able to construct quilts to be awarded to nominees. We gratefully appreciate the Kiwanis generosity as we continue to award comforting and healing quilts. N. Prabilski, Group Leader. Our community news welcomes letters to the editor on topics of general interest to readers in the Tri-Lakes area. Guidelines for letters are found here. The information and opinions expressed in letters to our community are the responsibility of the letter writers and should not be interpreted as the views of OCN even if the letter writer is an OCN volunteer. When there is more than one letter, the letters are arranged in alphabetical order based on the last name of the author. Letters to our community, vote for D38 School Board. D38 Board of Education directors will be elected this November. Your money will ultimately be spent based upon their direction. More importantly, student safety and educational quality depend on your voice, and the D38 directors are the keys to our community school district future. We the people form the basis of our nation. We the people are entitled to direct our children's education. Ultimately, we the people direct our community education through the D38 school district directors. Let them hear your voice and vote this November. Gordon Reichel. Our community news welcomes letters to the editor on topics of general interest to readers in the Tri-Lakes area. Guidelines for letters are found here. The information and opinions expressed in letters to our community are the responsibility of the letter writers and should not be interpreted as the views of OCN even if the letter writer is an OCN volunteer. When there is more than one letter, the letters are arranged in alphabetical order based on the last name of the author. Letters to our community, Ginger Schaaf for D38 School Board. My name is Ginger Schaaf, and I am announcing my candidacy for the D38 Board of Education District 3 position. My family joined the Monument community 2 years ago after nearly 20 years of moving for my husband's military career. We have 2 children in the D38 school system and have been extremely satisfied with the education and programs made available to them. I have been fortunate to have a professional career with the same company during the past 12 years of our final military moves, involving a combination of in-person and remote work. I am now happy to be back to working in person and look forward to contributing to my community. Our family chose D38 because of its established standards of excellence. I was raised by an educator who had a passion for teaching. Throughout our military moves, we have experienced a variety of school districts. I hope to use these perspectives to benefit the community. I would appreciate your support on November 4th. Ginger Schaaf. Our community news welcomes letters to the editor on topics of general interest to readers in the Tri-Lakes area. Guidelines for letters are found here. The information and opinions expressed in letters to our community are the responsibility of the letter writers and should not be interpreted as the views of OCN even if the letter writer is an OCN volunteer. When there is more than one letter, the letters are arranged in alphabetical order based on the last name of the author. Between the covers at Covered Treasures Bookstore, get lost in a new book. By the staff at Covered Treasures. We lose ourselves in books. We find ourselves there too. Anonymous. You're back from summer travel, and the kids are back in school. Why not dig into a new hardcover book you can get lost in? Here are a few for your consideration. Mailman, My Wild Ride Delivering the Mail in Appalachia and Finally Finding Home. By Stephen starring Grant, Simon & Schuster, $29.99. Steve Grant was laid off in March 2020. 50 years old and diagnosed with cancer, he needed health insurance, fast. Which is how he found himself working as a rural letter carrier in Virginia's Blue Ridge Mountains, back in his old hometown. Along with the Daily Mail, he carried a family legacy of rage and his own anxiety over having lost his corporate job. Yet slowly he changed. Eventually, the post office saved his life, renewed his acquaintance with his home community, and gave him a new sense of purpose. Culpability. By Bruce Halsinger, Spiegel and Grau, $30. What does it mean to be responsible in a world shaped by systems we no longer fully control? Part family drama, part techno-thriller, this riveting novel traces the moral fallout of a self-driving car crash, with a teenage boy behind the wheel, through the lens of a fractured family. A thought-provoking novel, Culpability combines social commentary about important, timely issues with moving insights about family dynamics. My Friends. By Frederick Bachman, Atria Books, $29.99. Humor, grief, and eternal loyalty come together in Bachman's tribute to youthful friendship, imagination, and faith in art's power to heal and nurture. Louisa, an aspiring artist who is homeless, is one of the few people who sees the three tiny figures down in the corner of one of the world's most famous paintings and is determined to find out the story behind the picture. The Stolen Life of Colette Marceau. By Kristen Harmel, Gallery Books, $28.99. Colette Marceau has been stealing jewels for as long as she can remember, following her code of honor: take only from the cruel and unkind, and give to those in need. This family tradition was important during the Second World War, when Annabelle and Colette's sales of the stolen jewels helped fund the French underground. Decades later, a stolen bracelet turns up in a Boston museum. If Colette can discover where the bracelet has been all this time, she might be able to find out what happened to her sister. The Aviator and the Showman, Amelia Earhart, George Putnam, and the Marriage That Made an American Icon. By Laurie Gwen Shapiro, Viking, $35. Earhart is a captivating figure to many, but the truth about her life is often overshadowed by myth and legend. In this cinematic new account, Shapiro emphasizes Earhart's multifaceted human side, her struggles, and her aspirations, the truths behind her brave pursuits, and the compromises she made to fit into societal expectations. The Aviator and the Showman is a gripping and passionate tale of adventure, colorful characters, hubris, and a complex portrait of a marriage that shaped the trajectory of an iconic life. Something to look forward to. By Fannie Flagg, Random House, $29. Fannie Flagg once said that what the world needs now is a good laugh. And that is what she delivers in these 30 warm-hearted, often hilarious, always surprising stories about Americans finding clever ways of dealing with the curveballs life throws at us. The Compound. By Aisling Rawle, Random House, $29. Lily, a bored, beautiful 20-something, wakes up on a remote desert compound alongside 19 other contestants competing on a massively popular reality show. To win, she must outlast her housemates to stay in the compound the longest, while competing in challenges for luxury rewards. When the unseen producers raise the stakes, forcing contestants into upsetting, even dangerous situations, the line between playing the game and surviving it begins to blur. The Art Spy. By Michelle Young, Harper 1, $29.99. A riveting saga set in Paris during World War II, The Art Spy tells the story of how an unlikely heroine infiltrated the Nazi leadership to save the world's most treasured masterpieces. On August 25, 1944, Rose Valland watched desperately from the windows of her beloved Jeu de Paume Museum as the battle to liberate Paris thundered around her. Until next month, happy reading. The staff at Covered Treasures can be reached at books@ocn.me. September Library Events, Book Clubs, Art for Older Adults, Palmer Lake Concert. By Harriet Halbig. The school year began at the Monument Library with an early literacy night co-sponsored by the Lewis Palmer School District to introduce families with children entering preschool to connect with educators and library staff for a night of play, learning, and resources. This event was held on September 4th. Recurring events at the Monument Library include Storytime every Tuesday from 10:30 to 11 a.m. for children ages 3 to 7 with a parent or caregiver. Socrates Café, an adult discussion group meeting from 1 to 3 p.m. on Tuesdays to discuss a variety of topics. Pause to Read every Tuesday from 4 to 5 p.m. Practice reading aloud and improve fluency by sharing a story with one of our lovable volunteer therapy dogs. Toddler Time every Wednesday from 9:30 to 10 and 10:30 to 11. Songs, rhymes, stories, and fun for toddlers ages 1 to 2 with a parent or caregiver. Space is limited. Come to the library from 1 to 2 p.m. on Thursday, September 18th, for Art for Older Adults. This program inspires a sense of self-reliance in older adults, even when the participant is somewhat reliant on a partner to help with materials use. Each month, seniors can produce high-quality art projects that respect their life experiences, skills, and capacity to create. All supplies are provided. Registration is required at ppld.org, Events and Happenings. Choose the branch, access the calendar and click on the event to register. Or call 719-488-2370. The third Friday Friends of Pikes Peak Library District Book Group will meet on Friday, September 19th from 10:30 to 12:30 to discuss The Sandcastle Girls by Chris Bojalian. All are welcome to attend. The Teen Dungeons & Dragons group will meet from 4 to 5:45 on Saturday, September 20th. New players and veterans ages 13 to 18 are welcome to attend. Space is limited to 8 participants. Registration is required at 719-488-2370. Have you ever seen tie-dye on a black t-shirt? Join us from 4 to 5 p.m. on Thursday, September 25th to learn reverse tie-dye techniques while creating a colorful graffiti-inspired t-shirt to take home or as a gift. A single black shirt, sizes SXXL, will be provided for each participant while supplies last. This program is open to patrons ages 13 to 18, and registration is required at 719-488-2370. Homeschool patrons ages 7 to 12 are invited to explore owl pellets on Friday, September 26th from 2 to 3 p.m. Join us for owl pellet dissection and explore the fascinating life of this bird of prey through hands-on experiences. Root out and reconstruct an owl's meal to identify its victims. The Tween Dungeons & Dragons group will meet from 4 to 5:30 on Saturday, October 4th. New members are always welcome and no experience is required. This group is open to patrons ages 9 to 12, and registration is required at 719-488-2370. The Palmer Lake Library Summer Concert Series continues with a concert by Ricky Sweam from 6 to 7 p.m. Friday, September 12th at the Palmer Lake Village Green behind the Palmer Lake Library. This second concert of the series features the music of Sweam, an award-winning musician, composer, educator, and music producer known for many things, including jazz performances. Everyone is welcome. Bring lawn chairs or blankets to enjoy this concert. In the event of inclement weather, the concert may either be relocated to the Palmer Lake Town Hall or cancelled. Harriet Halbig may be reached at harriethalbig@ocn.me. On the Trail, in memory of Tim Watkins, Ride for Tim scheduled for September 13th. By Steve Pate. 8 years ago, September 15, 2017, Tim Watkins was shot and killed while riding his mountain bike in one of his favorite areas near Mount Hermon and Limbaugh Canyon. On September 13, the annual Ride for Tim Memorial riders and others will meet at 1 p.m. at the Tim Watkins Memorial, 66N, Glenway, Palmer Lake, near the Palmer Lake Library. Everyone is welcome to participate in the social time at 300 Days of Shine, 279 Beacon Light Road in Monument to share memories of the well-liked member of the mountain biking community who helped establish and maintain trails in the area. That gathering will start around 3 p.m. Friends of Watkins may wish to ride the trail of their choice, the Tim Watkins Memorial Trail in the Monument Preserve, north of Mount Hermon Road, Limbaugh Canyon, Mount Hermon, or the Santa Fe Trail, all of which were familiar to Watkins. El Paso County Sheriff's Office investigator Jennifer Buchholz will be available at the Ride for Tim. Communities often have ideas that may help solve difficult cases like this. If you have information or ideas that may help solve this unsolved murder, please come to this event and share your ideas or call Buchholz at 719-520-7227 or email her at jenniferbuchholz@elpasoco.com. Steve Pate may be contacted at stevepate@ocn.me. High-altitude nature and gardens, hang, fall and the forest, creating soil beds and a blue spruce kitchen treat. By Janet Sellers. Forest living needs kitchen-made soil. Our local soil has created itself over millions of years for optimal forest growth. We can thank Mother Nature for creating our wonderful natural areas, and it's our job to take good care of them. When we want to make a garden bed for outside plants, such as familiar foodstuffs, we need to prepare the soil for growing those specific plants. We don't take the entire landscape to do this, we can actually make kitchen soil outdoors in a barrel, a cardboard box, or a specific place as the garden bed. To make kitchen garden soil from compost, keep it all contained to control the compost. Making it in a garden bed in layers and topping off with a very thick, 8 to 10 inches, layer of multi-size wood mulch is another method, and these methods should produce soil ready for planting by spring. For the tub method, use a food-grade tub or larger vessel. Drill pea-size oxygen holes on the sides and golf ball-size earthworm holes on the bottom. Layers, 1/1/1 layers like lasagna, so use a proportion of 1 carbon, brown/leaves/needles, 1 dirt/soil from the ground, 1 nitrogen, colors/veggies/fruits/kitchen, and cap it off with carbon. The speed of soil making depends on the weather, and watering when needed keeps the compost at work making soil. Spruce gum. Blue spruce resin has been used historically to make chewing gum. Some caution is advised, be very careful if you have dental work to watch out for, as fresh resin can be sticky and may require some patience to chew. It's made by harvesting the resin from the tree, often from areas where the tree has been damaged or naturally produces sap, and then chewing it after it hardens. While some find the initial texture brittle, it softens with chewing and can be a pleasant, long-lasting gum. Look for organic, toxin-free, no pesticides, etc., areas of spruce trees. Gently harvest the resin by hand or with a small knife, carefully removing it from the tree. Likely to be hard and brittle at first, it will eventually become pliable. Spruce resin has a long history of medicinal use, including antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory, and antioxidant properties, relieving sore throats and other ailments. Many find the taste pleasant. It's always a good idea to research and understand any potential risks or allergies associated with chewing tree resin. Janet Sellers is an avid, lazy gardener, letting Mother Nature lead the way for earthwise gardens. Send your tips to Janet Sellers at ocn.me. Art Matters, What is Art Good For? By Janet Sellers. Drawing helps you see what you cannot imagine and imagine what you cannot see. Richard T. Scott, American painter and writer. Making art, particularly in a group setting, fosters creativity and social connection by providing a safe space for expression, sharing diverse perspectives, and building a sense of community. This dynamic process allows participants to overcome creative blocks and feel more connected to others. Also, drawing and art making is just plain fun, especially in the case of a class with a supportive and creative teacher. Our creative inspirations, when supported, offer us immeasurable feelings of well-being and upliftment. Tech companies like Google use art in the workplace as a transformative vehicle to encourage creative thinking and foster conversation among employees. By featuring vibrant and innovative artistic expressions in its physical spaces, Google mirrors the cutting-edge, forward-thinking nature of its technology. Google actively seeks out well-rounded individuals who can offer creative skills and fresh perspectives beyond just technical expertise. This is part of the company's hiring philosophy, which values Googliness, traits like creativity, collaboration, and adaptability, just as highly as it does raw technical skills. In addition to technical and role-specific knowledge, Google assesses candidates for Googliness or cultural fit. This includes personal qualities like intellectual curiosity, creativity, and the ability to work in a collaborative and ambiguous environment. These are life-enriching qualities that drawing and art making by hand, especially in a group setting such as an art class, help to develop. Visual perception, sight, is the most obvious sense used for drawing, but artists do more than just see. They also interpret and organize visual information to translate it onto paper. Drawing develops observational skills. Drawing improves a person's ability to notice and concentrate on fine details, such as subtleties in light, shadow, shape, and color. For memory encoding, drawing an object while visually inspecting it creates a more context-rich representation in the brain, integrating pictorial information with the motor actions needed to draw it. In today's world, we need creative visualization to succeed. For drawing from imagination, the brain must first create a mental image of the subject. We can proceed from fun scribbles and even determine visual meaning with imagination. Often, doodling helps us free up our creative centers for problem solving. Drawing and art help designers, scientists, and, of course, artists bring their imagination to a physical form. Our ideas stay in our head until we put them into a physical form and manifest them. The physical act of drawing, particularly with, say, charcoal or graphite but also with a pen, creates a neurological connection that uses not only the mind but the hands, the eyes, and more. Drawing relies on a multisensory and whole-brain effort, engaging the visual system, tactile senses, and internal awareness of the body's position in space. Neurologically, this complex activity activates a network of brain regions, including the visual cortex, motor cortex, and areas responsible for memory and problem-solving. Janet Sellers is an artist, writer, and speaker, offering talks, workshops, and art in public places for museums, communities, and institutional talks and exhibitions. Contact Janet at janetsellers@ocn.me. Our Community Notices. By Janet Sellers. Although we strive for accuracy in these listings, dates or times are often changed after publication. Please double-check the time and place of any event you wish to attend by calling the information number for that event. Please notify us if your event listing needs to be updated. Be Bear Smart, do your part. Secure trash in a garage, shed or other secure structure. Trash bins should only be outside of the secure structure on trash collection days from 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. The majority of homes will already meet this requirement with standard practices. For those who cannot store their trash in a secured structure, they will need to obtain a bear-resistant trash can. Certified bear-resistant waste containers can be provided by your trash collection company, or you can purchase bear-resistant devices such as locks, ratchet straps, and more, including bear-resistant trash cans, that also deter other animals like raccoons and dogs. Here is a link from Alaska Department of Wildlife video to attach a ratchet strap. https://www.youtube.com/watch?v=m northnorthwest KL7T5Y. Trash can ratchet locks are available for as little as under $20. Bears are smart and they learn quickly that garbage is an abundant and reliable food source, said Frank McGee, Area Wildlife Manager for Colorado Parks and Wildlife. But a diet of garbage is terrible for bears and brings them into close proximity to people, which is dangerous for them and us. By securing our trash, we deny bears easy meals and discourage them from coming into town. We help keep them wild and alive in the forest, where they belong, not in someone's garage or the path of a car, behaviors that can get them killed. When thunder roars, go indoors. Lightning can strike even out of a blue sky. Always keep in mind that if you can hear thunder, you are close enough to be struck by lightning. Seek shelter immediately in a sturdy building or, if a building is not available, a hard-topped vehicle with the windows rolled up. When indoors, refrain from using corded appliances or other equipment or facilities that put you in contact with electrical systems or plumbing. Stay inside until the storms have moved away and thunder is no longer audible. This is very important, since lightning can and occasionally does strike well away from the thunderstorm itself. Stay alert with weather reports, and curtail your outdoor activities during that time, or ensure that you have constant access to a sturdy, fully enclosed shelter, such as a home or business. Tools for parents and teachers. https://www.weather.gov/safety/lightning-teachers. Black Forest / mulch program. Firewise mitigation, accepting tree branches, etc. Dumping fee for all loads will be $10 payment cash or check made out to Samcom. Pine needles are not accepted. Mulch is free to pick up. May through September, pick up mulch for your garden or property. Loader is available most Saturdays to speed up loading. 12375 Herring Road info including fire mitigation, forests, pine beetles, etc. https://bf/.org. Colorado EBT benefits available. Get up to $60 a month back on EBT card with a dollar-for-dollar match when buying fruits and vegetables at SNAP authorized retailers at Colorado grocery locations and farmers markets with the Colorado SNAP Produce Bonus. The main purpose of the EBT card is to provide food assistance through the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP. However, the program has evolved to include benefits and discounts that enhance the overall well-being of low-income individuals and families, making cultural experiences more accessible. Presenting your EBT card at participating museums and cultural attractions nationwide can unlock valuable cultural experiences beyond simply purchasing groceries. More Colorado food info, cdhs.colorado.gov/snap-produce-bonus. Free and reduced school lunches program. For the first semester of 2025-26 school year, the Lewis Palmer School District will provide no-cost meals for all elementary students. However, it is still important for households to provide their income information when requested. Gathering this information allows Lewis Palmer School District 38 to receive the state and federal funding for which it qualifies. These funds go directly to schools to help cover the cost of meals and support after-school activities and other nutritional programs for students. El Paso County Trailability Program. Terrain hoppers in the nature centers at Fountain Creek and Bear Creek areas are off-road mobility vehicles that allow members of the El Paso County community and visiting guests with disabilities to experience trails previously inaccessible to them. Hike 1 to 3 miles through foothills and wetlands habitats with your friends, family, and a nature center staff or volunteer, May through October. Reservations required, participation is free. https://communityservices.elpasoco.com/trailability/. For more information on the Trailability program, please contact Teresa Odello at 719-520-6981 or by email at theirseodello@elpasoco.com. Forest and gardening volunteers needed. Friends of Fox Run Park will have some openings for student volunteers, and grown-ups, too, most of the year for various tasks. Besides tasks, the group offers information and skills demonstrations for each 2 to 3 hour session, and celebrates volunteers at the park with annual community events. The Tri-Lakes Cares on-site garden in Monument also needs volunteers in fall, spring, and summer. Gardening tasks include preparing garden beds, weeding, sowing seeds, and developing the compost. Bring gardening gloves. Some tools will be provided on the workdays. Contact Janet Sellers at janetsellers@ocn.me or Marlene Brown at marlenebrown@ocn.me for more information. Parents helping parents. NAMI Parent and Caregiver Support Group is a no-cost, peer support program for parents, caregivers, and other family who provide care and support for youth, ages 19 and younger, who are struggling with mental health issues including depression, anxiety, school or peer pressure, substances and more. Facilitated by trained volunteers who have been in your shoes. Meeting is second Monday of each month from 7 to 8:30 p.m. via Zoom. Register online at namicoloradosprings.org. For more information, call the office at 719-473-8477 or email info@namicos.org. Get help in Larkspur. Larkspur Church has a food bank and care center that offer a good variety of non-perishable food items, as well as clothing for men, women, and children, some household items available too. We're here to help. If you are in need, or know someone who is, please reach out to Jeff at gethelp@larkspur.church. If you would like to donate, contact Jeff by the same email to arrange a pickup. Tri-Lakes Cares needs your support. Tri-Lakes Cares is the only food pantry and human services organization serving northern El Paso County through emergency relief and self-sufficiency programs. The community-based, volunteer-supported center is a critical resource for our neighbors in need. The best way to help support Tri-Lakes Cares is to donate. Visit https://tri-lakescars.org/donate to learn how to donate money, medical items, personal supplies, or food. Please check the web for current needs in our food pantry at https://tri-lakescars.org/donate/current-needs. Donation drop-off hours are Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. For more information about Tri-Lakes Cares or how you can help, contact Tri-Lakes Cares at 719-481-4864 or info@tri-lakescares.org. Black Forest Log School needs your help. Please help preserve the historic school for another 103 years. New exterior damage was discovered. It has exceeded the budget renovation funds. Friends of the Black Forest Log School, a 501c3 corporation, appreciates your donation. Please send a check or bring cash to Black Forest Community Foundation, 6770 Shoup Road, Black Forest, Colorado 90808. www.beeflogschool.com. Community volunteers. Many students need volunteer hours for scouting, civics classes, clubs, or would just like to volunteer for the good of it. Friends of Fox Run Park will have some openings for student volunteers, and grown-ups, too, most of the year for various tasks. Besides tasks, the group offers information and skills demonstrations for each 2 to 3 hour session, and celebrates volunteers at the park with annual community events. The Tri-Lakes Cares on-site garden in Monument also needs volunteers in fall, spring, and summer. Gardening tasks include preparing garden beds, weeding, sowing seeds, and developing the compost. Bring gardening gloves, some tools will be provided on the workdays. Contact Janet Sellers at janetsellers@ocn.me or Marlene Brown at marlenebrown@ocn.me for more information. Can you volunteer today? Links to local organizations with an immediate need for volunteers are listed on the county's website, www.elpasocountyhealth.org/volunteering-and-donations, for groups like Care and Share, Crossfire Ministries, Blood Donations, Early Connections, Volunteer from Home Opportunity, Foster an Animal, Medical Reserve Corps of El Paso County, Salvation Army, Silver Key, and United Way, Ongoing Opportunities. The Colorado State University Extension Office in El Paso County has several opportunities for individuals interested in volunteering. https://elpaso.extension.coloradostate.edu/volunteer-opportunities. El Paso County volunteer-based and nonprofit organizations rely on the hard work of individuals like you. Find out how you can play a part by becoming a volunteer in El Paso County. Get involved in El Paso County volunteering nonprofits and organizations. https://www.americantowns.com/el-paso-county-co/volunteer-organizations/. The El Paso County Sheriff's Office Volunteer Program is composed of a collective citizens group with a true and common desire to partner with the El Paso County Sheriff's Office by volunteering their services while learning more about the internal workings of the law enforcement community. https://www.epcsheriffsoffice.com/volunteer-program-0. The El Paso County Volunteer Program is a wonderful opportunity for citizens to learn about the various functions of county government as well as give back to the community. The county's numerous boards and commissions need your experience, talents, and time. https://bocc.elpasoco.com/volunteer. Thank you for joining us for the audio versions of the articles and columns from this issue of OCN. To dive into the full articles and columns or explore more content, visit ocn.me. Don't miss out, sign up for our community newsletter to stay updated with every new post.